I have been away. My son started school, and I get up every morning at like 6 a.m., which is hard for me because I'm not a morning person. I get up every morning at like 6 a.m. and get ready and take him to school, which we catch the tram and the train. We take the above ground train and then the underground train. The reason why we take the trains is because living in a city, the traffic can be so unpredictable. Like to drive from where we live to his school would be probably, once you count in like the twists and turns of a city, it would probably be about maybe maybe a 20-minute drive, maybe. Again, count like all the one-way streets and all the twists and turns and stops. 20-25 minute drive. Well, with traffic, if anybody's ever lived in a big city or a major city, like traffic is just, there's no consistent logic to it. Like you may be in and out or you may be sitting for an hour and a half. So that's why we just decide just to ride the train because the train is not going to face any delays like that. So we go to the center of Prague, take him to school, and then we just hang out in the city center. And so I got the personality where I'll meet people and talk to people, like meet new friends along the way. So every day is something different. So I've been busy, and I'm not a morning person. So since I've been getting up with him at like 6 a.m. to take him to school, we got to be there by 8 to drop him off. Like I'm in bed by 8, and usually sleep definitely long before 10 o'clock. So that's why I've been live streaming. I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with this. Um, if I would just go back to making videos again or what, I don't know. What's up, Jam? Hope you're doing good, man. Let me open this window. But yeah. So, oh my God, what's up, Pug Blaze? What's up, man? So yeah, that's where I've been these last few weeks now. Just take cause school started school because he was sick. Now he was sick all last week, so we didn't take him to school all last week because something was going around where I think it was COVID. I don't know what because I got it from him, and I was like sick as fuck last week, and so I was busy with that. I'm busy with taking him to school. Then I'm teaching, and I'll randomly I just got a ton of new students to teach, and that really kind of came out of nowhere from my perspective of it. So I've been teaching, I've been taking my son to school, I've been getting sick, and doing other little side projects. And I was just like so off, but that's where I've been. I've been running Rainery August Viva. I don't know what that means. What's your take on Charlie Kirk? Oh yeah, that was wild shit, man. I Here's the thing, Rainery. I hope I pronounced that right, man. I'm gonna give you my completely honest opinion, like I always do. Um, I didn't even know who he was. I had no idea who the guy was, and so how I seen it was. Okay, remember, I had absolutely no idea who Charlie Kirk was. Like, I was completely ignorant to who he was, anything with his name, his face, and I had no idea who the guy was. But, and here, this is my completely honest opinion. I was laying in the bed. The only reason I had got on Facebook because it was my friend's 40th birthday, and I got on there to write him like happy birthday. And like as soon as I got on there, it was said they were talking about a dude got shot, and I went to the comment section, and somebody had posted in the comment section like literally the snippet of where he says gang violence, and he just gets shot right in the neck, and blood spilling out everything. He's gone. He's immediately gone. Right now, I showed it to my wife. Right, we're not married. I just call her my wife, and she got mad at me because because I had to explain to her, and she doesn't get it. And this is the weird part about America. See, like the rest of the world is like very racist. I'm talking like America's like, 1950s level racist, but they're so like casually professional with their racism. They don't even see, like, the rest of the world doesn't even see how racist they are. Now, America is a completely different form of racism. It's a entirely different thing, right? So I had to explain to her, like, okay, I like this dude he was obviously somebody's son. I would never wish that on somebody's kid or anything like that, right? Like that's horrible. But I was trying to explain to her, and other Americans will know what I'm talking about. I don't know if people outside the U.S. can understand this, but Americans will know what I'm talking about. The clip was literally of him saying gang violence, right? Again, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know his agenda, anything. I just see her. But I was trying to explain to her. I could tell literally by the tone of how he said gang violence that he was one of those white guys who would sit up and study every negative thing about anybody who's not white he could, and he would literally sleep like an angel that night. Like he would jack off to like anyone who's not white, you know, troubles in life. Like he was one of those. I could literally tell how he said gang violence right before he got shot. He was one of those guys. Because I was, as soon as when I watched, because and I told my, okay, first I told my wife, I said that was kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like if that had been an SNL skit, motherfuckers would have been dying laughing over that shit. Because in America they know that's how he said gay. If you don't believe me, go back. If you can find the clip, it's somewhere on the internet. The second he gets shot, listen to how he says gang violence. It's the tone. Like I had no idea who he was. None of that. I immediately knew he was like one of them borderline racist, one of them like closet racist kind of dudes. I immediately knew he was one of those kind of dudes. How he said the words gang violence. So I thought it was kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel bad. Now again, he's somebody's son. I think he was married. He's somebody's dad. Like that's fucked up. And I was trying to tell my wife. I was trying to say, look, like on an interpersonal level, yeah, of course it was fucked up. He got killed. I'm not fucking that dense or, ignorant to reality. On that level, of course it's horrible. Like I don't want anybody to lose their son or brother or uncle or anything like that, But on a political level, that shit was comedy. I can't even lie. Like I immediately chuckled. I was like in a shock awe of laughter when I seen it. Like is that real? I'm like, oh, they killed him. Well, you know what I mean? Like it was literally how he said gang violence. That it was the tone. I didn't even have. Okay, and an example I tried to use, and this is a true story. When I used to work at this company, it was a nice company, and my cousin got me the job. A female cousin got me a job at this company, right? And Charlie Kirk, okay, I'll tell you exactly who Charlie Kirk was like in this story. So my cousin got me a job working at a company, and obviously my cousin's black, and she knew this white woman named Dorothy. I love Dorothy. Dorothy was great. I love her. If I don't have anything bad to say about them, I will always, or if I just completely hate them, I will say their name on YouTube, kind of thing, right? She was a white woman. Her name was Dorothy, and Dorothy was always amazing. She was great. She was just a great person to hang. And she had kids. She had a son my age and another son that was like 10 years younger or something like that. And I remember we all like hung out. It was me, her son, and some of my friends. Some of my friends actually knew her son, so we would all go over to Dorothy's house to hang out. We were probably like 20 at the time, something like maybe like 19 or something like that. And we would just hang out at Dorothy's house, right? So Dorothy, the older son, ended up being real cool. I got a whole side story about him where he was like having sex with this girl and they were trying to make porn together. That was a whole other story. But the older brother, at first I didn't like him, but we ended up becoming real cool. Because we almost fell out real bad, like pretty early on. But we became cool. But his little brother was a Charlie Kirk kind of dude, right? His little brother would like fake hang out with it. So for example, it was me, a Filipino friend of mine, and Dorothy was white, and her kids were white. And Dorothy's and the big brother's girlfriend, she was like some mixed brown girl. I don't know what she was, but it was just like a completely mixed time when we would hang out. So Dorothy's youngest son, Dorothy didn't have anything to do with it. I could tell by how she was. She didn't have anything, and the older brother wasn't on this shit either. The younger brother was a Charlie Kirk. We got to saying jokes, right? Sitting in the living room. I still remember exactly where we were. We were in the living room, and we would say jokes about different races or anything like that, right? And it was one of them situations. Remember a while back when Dave Chappelle fired somebody who worked for him because the way he laughed at a joke, and Dave Chappelle knew he was a racist dude by how he literally could tell by the tone of his laughter that he was racist as fuck for real, and Dave Chappelle fired him. And it made news for a little while that he did it. It was a similar situation in this house. So we were saying jokes. Some of them were race or whatever, but we would laugh and kind of move on. The little brother made a joke about black people, right? And of course, like we started laughing. And then he made another joke. And then it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. He just made another joke. And then he says another joke. Right? And now it's like, okay, this dude, and it's like the cadence and tone of his joke selection were like clearly targeted at black people at this point. Like, because he didn't say anything else about anybody else. And it wasn't like it was like targeting me. It was like this dude, like he legit would sit down and study. He was a Charlie Kirk. He would study anything negative about people who weren't white. I mean, and he was like, he just kept blurting out racist joke after racist joke as if it was a contest to get him out, but nobody else was competing. It was just him. And so everybody starts looking around like, oh no, yeah, he's little. I think the older brother finally told him to be quiet and all, but he just kept going. Like that's what a Charlie Kirk. So here's the thing. For people outside of America, see, like when it comes to these things, I really think that the news should never be played outside North America because there's just intricate race issues that, like, especially Europeans, they just don't. Europe is so, here, my opinion is Europe is so professionally racist that like their professionalism in it can be so like deep in them that they don't even realize they're doing it. Like, because I was telling my dad this, because my dad noticed it, how they'll just walk through you, especially if you're like black or brown, they'll just walk through you in the street. They don't care. Right? And I showed him a clip about Neil. Let me see if I can find this clip about Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about it. He was talking about South Africa and how they'll just walk through you. How you spell his name? Because I sent him the link to tell him, like, yeah, no, that's real shit around the world. It was a real. And here's the thing. I want to tell Neil deGrasse Tyson that's not just South Africa, dude. That's how the world for real is. Like they're so like the rest of the world is like higher class professional racism. America is like trying to hide it and pretend like it doesn't exist and blame it on oh, it's this and that. Like America's in this whole juggling game of trying to pretend that it's not racist. The rest of the world is just simply fucking racist as fuck. Right? It just is what it is. And I'm not saying like build your identity off of it, but it just is what it is. So I think this is it. So here's the, I want to tell Neil deGrasse, I passionately want to tell him that this is not just South Africa. This is the world once you leave North America.
South Africa in 1992, and I'm walking the street. I'm not a small person. I'm walking, and there's a couple coming towards me in South Africa. They're white. They did not even look up. They're just looking down, talking to each other. It was fully expected that I would part around them for them to keep walking forward. Yeah. It wasn't even, oh, let's just both take a slight half step to the side as you pass one another. No, that is not what happened. And another time, I'm in a convenience store, and I put the money down, and the Krugerrands and the gum or whatever I was buying. While I'm there in that little open section of the heavily overstuffed purchase area, someone comes up behind me, puts something down, fully expecting that they're going to be taken next when I am standing there. Like I said, I'm not a small person. This was South Africa. And I realized, okay, they still have a way to go because they haven't even graduated to the point of noticing me and then calling me names. They were still in a state where I did not exist and I was irrelevant. Well, I was
See, I want to tell Neil that no, that's not South Africa, dude. That's the world is still allowed to be like 1950s North America. You know what I mean? Like, because nobody cares about their news. The world is still. See, the reason why North America can't do that is because everybody can pay attention to our news, and then further in an envious fit of rage, like stomp on North America more because North America kicked the world's ass. Like these are like Neil. I would love to sit him down and tell him like that's not just South Africa, dude. That's literally the world. Like when America's like racism on like rookie mode at this point. He like, but no, back to Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about him. I never Googled him. I watched a few videos to see what he was talking about. And of course, Instagram starts showing me, now everybody all of a sudden knows everything about the guy. I never heard of him, before he got shot. But like I said, I could literally hear his tone of how he said gang violence and had him virtually summed up in literally 0.2 seconds. But see, to tell like you're like people outside the U.S. I don't think it's very common because they just don't know how we talk in America, because they're watching too much Netflix and all that silly shit. They don't really know North America and how the people really are, So like it to try to so my wife got mad at me. She was mad because she was like, how can you laugh at that? And I'm trying to tell like, no, it's the history of the country. Like he just like that. I could tell just by how he said gang violence. He probably deserved it in at a capacity. You know what I mean? Like one of them type of things. Like it's one of them situations. So what my thoughts on Charlie Kirk? I don't know the guy at all. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't know anything about him before it happened because I knew I was completely ignorant. I heard him just say gang violence and he got shot, and I was like. My immediate thought was, that was kind of funny. That was my immediate, and I'm completely honest. Now again, he's somebody's son. It's terrible. On an interpersonal, one-on-one situation, if I had known somebody was planning to do that to him, I would have done what I could to stop it. Let's just be completely clear. If I had known, you know what I mean? Like if I had known somebody was like, carrying any type of a rifle, knowing he was going to speak and all that, like I would have called the police or something. Like I would not have aided in the dude's, assault, right? Or murder or whatever you want to call it. I would have never aided it. But it's one of the things like Chris Rock said, like I would never beat up a woman, but I understand. You know what I mean? Like I know, like I'm not dumb enough to pretend like I don't know where it came from. You know what I mean? Like there, what I mean? Like I don't want to beat up a woman, but I understand where it comes from. Just like with the Charlie Kirk dude. Like I said, just simply by how he said gang violence, as an American, I knew where that was. I had him summed up. Like I said, in less than a second, I could hear by his tone of voice. There's a reason why Will Ferrell could say gang violence. Will Ferrell literally said the N-word on national television and nobody cared. There's a reason why some of these white guys can say it, and then other white guys, like Donald Trump, would never dream to say the N-word because he knows he can't say that word. Donald Trump knows for a fact he cannot say the N-word. All right, maybe if it's me and him in a room and we just hanging out talking and he's always wanted to say it, something like that. But like he knows, Donald Trump knows, it doesn't matter how much money he has. Donald Trump knows for a fact he cannot go outside and say the N-word, right? But Will Ferrell can. And then it doesn't, it doesn't sting or anything. You know what I mean? He wasn't actually racist, but his arguments criticize him. See, here's the thing, Monk God. Here's the thing with that. See, that these are the modern day racists in America. In the U.S., that is a modern day racist. Okay, I see what you're saying. Like he wasn't racist, but his arguments criticize black people. Okay, because I did hear one clip where, and I've always agreed with this on my YouTube channel. I've always said this. Those minority hires like are fucked up. because they're hiring people who, just because they're black to do a job, and they're probably shitty at their job. I agree with him on that. And he probably has some other good points. But that man was that modern day racist. That's a modern day racist. He's not he'll do whatever he can. That type of dude, because it's a million of them in Ohio alone. That kind of dude will play with any mental gymnastic he can to try to blame it on facts. But coincidentally, he'll never know any facts about against white people. You know what I mean? Like he'll never have any, very little. Very little. He can never just randomly spout out facts that white people commit 70% of all sexual assault crimes in America. He can never rattle off how the government had plans to kill every brown leader for literally no reason except for the brown people might actually unite. He'll never come up with random facts about how the richer whites actually they actually invented the white race to separate the poor whites and the poor. See, he'll never, very rarely if ever, these types of people know these facts. It's always, and like I said, see, these are the modern day racists. Charlie Kirk's version of racism is the socially acceptable racism because at least we can back it up with facts that are severely one-sided and literally won't touch the other side at all. See, and he can trick a lot of people. Like that will trick a lot of people. I'm not saying he tricked you, but because he will have facts, and the facts will be completely true. Like a Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell will never come up with a fact against white people. It's always going to be against anybody who's not white because his name is literally Uncle Tom, right? Like you can't even make that up. Like that shit is a comedy skit of itself. A black man with a name of Tom coming up with every negative fact. It's never white people's fault for anything. You know what I mean? Like, some people do anything to get their rent paid. Some people say anything. You get one extra click on YouTube, one extra click on Instagram. Some people, and Thomas Sowell's one of them. Now, I don't think Charlie Kirk was necessarily one. I don't think Charlie Kirk was not a Thomas Sowell. Charlie Kirk was Dorothy's son. It's a million of those white guys. It's a million of them in Ohio. In Ohio alone, where I'm from, it's a million of them like that. Charlie Kirk was not a Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is essentially Uncle Ruckus, with the goal of getting his rent paid, and the shit that white guilt problem and all that. And that's my opinion of him. That's what Thomas Sowell is. Charlie Kirk is not. Charlie Kirk was just, like I said, Charlie Kirk was Dorothy's youngest son who fucked around and got famous. And I was telling my dad, like, okay, here's the issue with Charlie Kirk's. Okay, so this is where Charlie Kirk's kind of come from. Well, no, they do come from. And I'm not saying all white people are evil. I'm not trying to say that at all. But because there's terribly racist black people too. Like I said, if there's a black person that sided with Rampage's son for what he did to that white dude in that ring, that is a racist fucking black person immediately, because that was literally attempted murder. It was terrible. But back to Charlie Kirk. See, the sad part about Charlie Kirk's, these types of people is that anybody who would follow. Okay, here's the thing. Anybody who. Okay, let's take it to Trump, right? If anybody remembers, when Trump first ran for president the first time, he was pretty much just shitting on Mexico, and that's what got him all the attention, because it was like, oh, how can he say that on TV, say these things about the illegal immigrants and all that, and then literally the week later, everybody had a PhD from Google in illegal immigration. After Donald Trump, went on these, tangents and shit like that. Not tangents, but just, talked about it. Now, the reality of and this is a very sad, this is, here's the thing. I really feel sorry for the casual white American. I really do. And hear me, I hope people hear me out on this. I really sympathize with the casual white American who fits into voting for Trump and these kind of things. See, Donald Trump's whole a big portion of what got him famous for running for president the first time was pretty much shitting on Mexicans, right? Talking about building a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it, all this shit, right? Now, look at Donald Trump's life. Donald Trump has never had to touch a Mexican. Unless they get ready to clean up the floor. Donald Trump has no connection with Mexicans. So who was Donald Trump talking to? Donald Trump was talking to that white guy, that poor white family who has to live on the same street with the Mexicans. You see what I'm saying? And it's really sad because, like I said, Trump just used those poor whites as a, Trump used the poor whites how Hillary Clinton used the black women. Okay? Same thing. Same thing. It's the same thing. As soon as Hillary Clinton lost that election, she ain't touched them niggers no more. Get the fuck off me, niggers. I'm going back to my rich house. Excuse me. Don't touch me. I'm about to clean my suit later now. Trump, it's so sad. See, okay, because white people who have money for real don't even know how to be mad at Mexicans. They don't even know how to be mad at minorities or Mexicans. You know why? Because they don't come across minorities and Mexicans. Because they're living in rich neighborhoods. They don't even, unless you coming in there driving Uber or some shit like that, driving Miss Daisy, some silly shit like that. These people don't know Mexican. They don't know anybody who's not white. All right? In North America, statistically speaking. If you look at who owns all the money, the blacks don't even have, these people don't even have access. So these people don't even know. So when you find a population that's genuinely upset with immigration, right? These are the poor whites who are really mad because the rich whites will never let them into their dinner tables, right? And these poor whites are now mad because they're forever kicked out of the rich, but secretly deep down they still think that they'll make it if they just continue to beat down all the other races, right? This is what Charlie Kirk was. Anybody who could follow that Charlie Kirk shit fits into this boat. It's this subconscious thing of well, yeah, if we just keep on bashing all the poor browns, the rich whites will finally let us in. They'll finally let us in and tell, Uncle Ruckus, and tell us to see that they'll let us into white heaven. It is never going to happen. And I feel so sorry for that part of the population because, with the poor whites, they just don't get it. They truly feel because that looks like them that they will truly elevate to that level, and they never will. It's never going to happen. You know what I mean? And Charlie Kirk was one of those poor whites. Now, he may not have been a poor white in the sense of on food stamps, but he didn't have Donald. If he's walking around talking like that, he did not have real money nor class. Period. Period. He didn't. He couldn't. Because if he did, it's because he used the same tactics that Donald Trump used. He got all his money, all those resources from them poor whites donating to him. Pretty much a Thomas Sowell. Just tell them what they want to hear, and get your rent paid. But yeah, like I said, I truly do feel sorry for the majority of the white population because they get, in reality, they get shitted on the worst because they genuinely think that they'll elevate. You know what I mean? If they just work hard. No, bro, let me tell you something. If you are a white person and you have had to see at least 5 different black people in your life in North America, you are a poor white. Okay? If you are a white person and you know where a black family lives and it's within 2 blocks of your neighborhood and there's multiple of them, you are a poor white. I hate to break it to you, but that's what it is. Now, just because you got this Trump sign and Trump sticker, Donald Trump doesn't like you, you fucking idiot. Donald Trump does not like you. Donald Trump is never going to invite you to his house. He will never invite you to his dinner to tell you to share the secrets of the universe with you. You are dirty just like them dirty blacks, the dirty Mexicans, and the dirty Asians. All right, all of y'all the same thing. Right? And it's sad. Like I think like Charlie Kirks are just so sad. Like it's funny and sad at the same time. It really is. It really is. But by the time that person has to get mad about it, they're pretty much telling on themselves for their position. Like how women tell on themselves for their position in the world. Like by the time you have these Charlie Kirks, these people, like by the time you have like the Charlie Kirk type of mentality out there, they're telling on themselves. Okay, it would be like me complaining that like the dollar menu went away from McDonald's and I'm walking around mad. Like it would be the equivalent of AD. I'm sitting up in frustration and I'm scientifically breaking down why the dollar menu isn't at McDonald's and they need to bring it back and they took the dollar menu away to hurt us and all that. What does that really tell you about my position? That means I'm broke as fuck because I need the dollar menu because I'm mad about the dollar menu. Now, in reality, I didn't even know they took the dollar menu out because I don't eat at McDonald's. Right? But I found because I talked to my dad and he would stop and get McDonald's coffee and we talked about it. But you see what I'm saying? See, like it's that sense of telling on yourself. See, like my problems when people complain, you can tell a lot about a person's position in life through what they're complaining about in life. That's how you can tell what they really are. Their universe of problems, right? I have a son. I speak a different language, although very poorly, but I can. My problems are we just got a birth certificate, an official birth certificate that has my son's middle name on it, and we had to pay an extra 2,000 Czech crowns for it because the translator had to go home and retype a paper out. My problems, well, I finally fixed the VA, the military, because they fucked me. See, these are my life problems. My life problem, and then dealing with Europeans being just like professional level racist kind of thing. Not all Europeans. Some of them can be great, but it is more of a subconscious thing in their mentality. Like they just have a like an unspoken class system that they still work off of, and like it's just. And I was telling my dad because my dad noticed it how they'll just walk through you. Like they just don't care if you're black, dude. Like they will literally just walk through you. So you have to walk into them or keep walking until they change at the last minute. Like the classism and racism in Europeans is like legit professional level. And I was telling him because me and my dad talked about it, and I said I told him I don't think they do it on purpose. I really don't. I don't think they do. I think they're just that backwards behind and just like bad at being people that like they don't even notice it at this point. Whereas in America, they would intentionally do it. Like they would know, kind of Americans would know. The Europeans, like they just don't even think of. It's just so deep within them. This is just how they are. I don't think there's any harm behind how they do it. That used to be me before keto. I was complaining the McGriddle went from $2 to $4. The McGriddle was good. I remember the McGriddle with the pancake buns. That shit was good. It was the breakfast sandwich. I remember the McGriddle. I remember that it had pancake buns, sausage patty, and like the scrambled egg. I think it had bacon, and it had like syrup like infused with the fucking bun. The McGriddle was good. I remember that motherfucker. I used to eat at McDonald's especially when I was in America. I used to eat there. I remember the McGriddle. That motherfucker was delicious. All right, that shit was great. I was in Westchester, Pennsylvania yesterday, and a white baby was shocked to see me. I want to be part of your project called Woman that shows. What you guys talk about one? Are you hip with the glowing orbs that's been seen all over the world? I've been wearing suspenders. I love suspenders. These motherfuckers are great. Have I been seeing orbs? I seen where like UFOs or some shit been popping up. Like I've always said the same thing about like alien shit, man. Like I was talking to one of my students about it. Like I think it's cool. Like I want to talk to one of these if I can. I want to meet. Like I want to work in the Men in Black. You know what I've been doing too? I've been watching the whole animated series of Men in Black, and I read the comic book for the first time. The comic book for Men in Black. There's only like 3 or 4 issues, and it paints a slightly different picture because there was like a great. Here's a spoiler alert about the Men in Black comic. So what I thought one part that was really interesting. Well, first, Will Smith's character is white. He's white in the comic, and he becomes like a man in black, like literally like in the middle of a drug deal gone wrong. So like in the Men in Black comic book, they don't just do aliens; they do like drug deals and everything, and they're really like independent. It's not like this big whole headquarters like in the movie. But one cool part, I think it was the third, because the second comic book was pretty much the ground level, the ground story for the first Men in Black movie with the Edgar, and he had the shotgun and the cockroach came and killed him. That was pretty much the second comic book was pretty much Men in Black, the movie Men in Black one. Well, at the like on the base level, there was a lot of big difference. But a cool part about the comic was Agent J never wanted to use a neuralizer, and in the comic it's like a flashlight. It's not like a stand up thing. It's like a flashlight they use. And Agent J never wanted to use a neuralizer because he just thought it just wasn't fair, just erase somebody's mind and tell them what what you wanted. And Agent J was always like, well, look, we got to do this so people don't spread the news if they see some shit. So, I think in issue 3, these kids were playing with like, these demonic toys or something, and like an alien came out of one, and it went in the town and just killed a bunch of people in the town, right? And so the Men in Black got called to go there, and it was Agent J and K, and like they neuralized the firefighters, everybody, the police, they neuralized everybody until they come into this room where it was a woman. She was sitting there fucked up, and she was like in complete shock. She's just going like, I lost, like the monster killed my baby. She was just stuck like, the monster killed my baby. The monster, it came in the room and killed. And she just couldn't stop saying it, right? And Agent J was like, yo, ain't you gonna neuralize her? And K was like, no, I ain't gonna neuralize her. He said, how come? He said, no, we only neuralize people who will be believable if they go off and tell stories about aliens. This woman is crazy. We don't gotta neuralize her. Let's go. And then that's when Agent J was like, oh, okay. Like, now I'm going to neuralize this woman because she genuinely needs it. Like, she watched her kid die. Agent J was not going to neuralize her because she was crazy and nobody would believe her. So I thought that was a real cool, like, that's a spoiler, but I thought that was a really cool, something to really think about. So that's how Agent J gets over, because I don't think in the movies they wouldn't have done that in the movie. But he was real adverse to it in the movie. I remember that he was always worried about if K ever flashy thinged him, and he would say no. But yeah, it wasn't the greatest read. It wasn't the worst comic book. But back to I would love to work for the Men in Black. I would jump at the chance to do that shit. The comic version or the movie version, I would jump at a chance to work for the Men in Black. Any of them where I get to see some, or like where they be behind the scenes in Invincible, where they put like something in the tap water to where you can't see through the light, and they turn that shit off, and it was like a whole laboratory in that motherfucker. Like, I would love to work back. I would sweep the floors in a place like that. I'd be a janitor in the Men in Black. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would be a janitor. I sign up for that shit and give the best interview I could. But yeah, let me see. What's up, Dibs? D, man. Yeah, D. I hope you're still here, man. I've been so tired because I'm taking my son to school every morning at 6 a.m., 6:30. I'm waking up at 6:30, and I'm not a morning person. So I'm like sleep by like 9 p.m. every night now. I'm like in the bed by 8, and I'm sleep by 9. It's just destroyed me. And then I've been teaching a lot, and because my teach schedule just went up like crazy. So I just been like crazy. So that's where I was, man. I was just tired from taking because I take him to school and then we just stay in the city center until we stay in the city center until he gets out of school. Because we don't want to like keep running back and forth and all that. So we just hang out down there. AARO is the real life Men in Black. They just released a UFO getting hit with a. Oh, I seen that. Yeah, it was over the water, I think. Monk guy. I did see that. I grew up watching Men in Black animators. Imagine how many dope fiends have UFOs. Amir was his used the working white said like, well, Monk guy, he used the working whites as a catapult. He also uses psychology that since people don't agree with us and hate us, we must be right. That old religion argument, yeah, that existed about the pot, yeah. Like I feel sorry for like people. I feel sorry for just that population of whites. Like I really do. Like I was telling my spouse with my dad on the phone. Like because I was telling her we were talking about the differences um between like African Americans and then like Africans, these kind of things, right? We were talking about these small differences. And I was trying to explain to my wife saying like how um like African Americans literally wake up every morning like on guard on some level, right? Whereas like the white population, like they don't have to even think about any. It's just like, oh, I just woke up today. Hope my credit score's okay. You know what I mean? This type of shit, right? Like they don't have to worry about they don't have to worry about how they're seen, how they dress, or anything like that. And so I was trying to explain to her how like African like okay, brown people in America expect to have to fight every day, right? Whereas like the sad part, as I was telling her, it was my dad's on video call and she was here, and I was explaining to her, see, like the sad part is like when like black people from other countries, well, like let's say like black people from like stereotypically poor countries, like they think it's just all about working hard. You know what I mean? Like so like and it's and it because they'll come to America and be like, yeah, I just got to work hard and this and that. And the African Americans already see the African Americans in America are like that old janitor who's already been through the ringer, and then like and we just sit back and watch like these Mexicans and these Africans and these Jamaicans like come to America with that mentality, like yeah, if I just work hard, I'll be appreciated. Like, and the African Americans like, look, dude, like y'all just ain't been here long enough yet. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like they just haven't been, and it's really like a rough thing to watch. Like the African Americans, you get it, you know. And it's really a weird dynamic because like and I get it. I do understand one perspective. It's like African Americans would be seen as like potentially hostile in America. And here's the thing: it's not really that African Americans are really hostile towards whites, and when it comes to getting hired for jobs, no, it's that the whites are so guilty about the past that they know it's almost like they expect the blacks to hurt them, kind of thing. And again, like I just think the whole thing's really sad. Because there's no black people that I know who would genuinely go out their way to hurt a white person. I don't know of one, and I know people from, well, not much anymore, but from the hood and from like the suburbs. But like I feel like white people are like living with that like constant fear of, oh, they're gonna repay us for what our ancestors did. Kind of. So they would rather go hire like a Jamaican or like a somebody from some other like a brown person from like they'll literally go ship in motherfuckers brown from over to anywhere on earth instead of work with their own brown people there, because they know it's like the brown people there can possibly seek out revenge, whereas like the brown people from like other parts of the world, they're not part of that history where vengeance could grow. So like so they could still abuse them a little more, where they can't really abuse us, you know what I mean, and get away with it. It is like the whole thing is it's really, but like I said, in the end, like I would never want to hurt, like my wife is pale white, she's Czech, like I don't want to hurt a white person at all. But like I said, I think like from my perspective, what I see, which I could be wrong, there's like a deep sense of guilt. It's a situation. There was what's that white woman named Jane, where she set a class full of high school students down, and she asked them like would they ever choose to be born black, and nobody says yes. Then she said, well, that confirms that you know that you got it better. You know that they got it worse, and you don't care to do anything about it. See, like these little studies are like hardcore. And but here's the thing: it's like black people. I've never known a black person who would genuinely hurt a random white person just because of history. I've never, but it's like they walk around with this shit subconsciously. You know what I mean? Like, and like it becomes awkward in many, not all cases, but many cases. In America, I gotta say, let me specify America because this is my country's history. Europe has a whole different slew of issues. All they have to do is end white guilt is the cut reparations deal. That's fair. Would you agree? No, JM. No, I don't agree with reparations. I think, and I'm going to sound like Thomas Sowell now, but no, I think reparations would be just a huge waste of time. What okay? What would actually, in my opinion, what would actually okay reparations, but not in the form of just like cutting checks, because all that's going to do is complicate giving the money to Cadillac, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and alcohol shop down the street, and Michael Jordan. Okay, it's a waste of time. Okay, the weird part about the African American community is this, because like everybody had slaves at some point. Now the African Americans, I think, got screwed over the worst in human history for many different reasons. Not necessarily saying it was like the hardest, flat out physical labor, but the mental tax and all that shit that took place after that was atrociously bad. On top of essentially building the most powerful country in the world in the process. But it's with something like reparations, just cutting a check would be a huge that would just be a waste of time. You might as well, if they were to cut a $15 trillion check, you might as well just split it up in the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Amazon, Louis Vuitton, and just send Louis Vuitton the money. Just don't even give it to just complicate it even. Just give it straight to them. Okay, so what essentially happened to the African American community is what would happen in the countries, let's say like for example, like shit, I'm trying to think now. God damn it. So one big thing about when colonizers would go places, the countries that would have any chance at doing well after the colonizers left was if the colonizers, for whatever reason, had to start putting schools there to train them. Those generally speaking, those are the only countries that stood any kind of a chance after the colonizers left, or the enslavement ended, or anything like that. Now the problem with North America was that since they had shipped so many slaves, well, they had shipped a decent amount of slaves into North America, but the problem with it was they kept them severely uneducated. They made it illegal for them to learn how to read. They made it illegal for the slaves to know how to write. They made it illegal for them to go to school, and all they did was just breed them and breed the physically stronger ones, and there was no attention to education at all in any way. So what the slave owners in America were left with was just what was about 4 million uneducated, illiterate, physically strong people, relatively physically strong people, who were literally 200 years behind in education. Because remember, this is at the time when education rates started to boom, right? See, these are other parts that people don't talk about in America when slavery comes up. They usually don't give it much thought, especially, people like Thomas Sowell, because it'll start making white people look like they actually did something wrong. But this is when education rates started to boom. Was right around the early 1900s was when literacy rates, all that, started to shoot up. And guess who got severely left behind because it was illegal for them to read, illegal for them to write, and their cultures compounded on top of that logic, right? So so in the U.S. you're stuck with these. Now, most other countries, the colonizer would just go there, do it to the people, and then just leave. For the most part, so the people were just sitting there stuck, dumb as fuck, with a struggling country, right? For whatever reason, they'd just leave. The colonizer would either be ran out, or they would just leave because something happened, whatever. and they didn't have to continue to, fund them in any kind of way. Now, America ended up fucked up with that again because they were stuck with essentially 4 million slaves who and the 4 million blacks in the South who were essentially just illiterate idiots. I hate to use those words, but that's just what it was. So, um, and see, here's a sick part about I told my wife this, and she's white. I told her this that white people have more respect for dogs than they do for brown people on a whole, and I sincerely do mean that. So yeah, I was telling my wife this that she has more respect for a dog than a brown person, right? The reason, and I'll tell you the exact scenario the exact case I always use. If you break it down to dogs and say, yeah, oh, this dog had been, enslaved, it's been forced to push sleds, and it was beat when it couldn't pull the sled at a certain speed, and they fed it just like corn and bones, and the dog had to figure out how to survive, and he was just oppressed because they would rarely clean him. He had to sleep outside in the rain, and then and you know what white people do? They go up to get a dog. Oh yeah, this dog was hurt. We need to take care of this dog. Right? They would go out there, and BioShock Infinite actually touches on exactly this situation, because Comstock actually values dogs more than the black man. Go look it up. BioShock Infinite. It was on one of the recordings in that game. Now, on top of that, when we talk about the dog case, now let's say that one dog was fucked up, right? And the owner enslaved it. It was enslaved. It had to pull sleds in the snow. So all it knew was pulling sleds, eating corn and bones, and like rotten corn and bones, and begging for that, and hoping that the slave master didn't sell its children dogs away to random farms, right? And then when that dog gave birth to other dogs, well, that dog put everything it knew into its puppies, and then the puppies seen how its parent was and how the parent reacted to the slave owner. So that kid now has adopted this entire culture. That's just 2 generations, right? And you will not find a white person to be like, oh, we need to go shelter those dogs. We need to go shelter them. We need to go help them out, god darn it. We'll put them in a doggy school and have them go play with the other dogs. And, oh, it's okay if they're not normal because they went through something. Yeah. Yeah, the dog went through oppression. Yeah, we understand dogs. Yeah, we'll take this little pup and we'll put him with the other pups that grew up in a nice, healthy house. And sure, they'll get in the squabbles, but we'll keep them together and we'll fight with them to make sure that they're normal with the other normal dogs, because that's what our fight for. We'll put money in this. We'll ask for donations. We'll do everything for dogs. Yeah. Bring 2 immigrants from Nigeria to Europe. They don't understand shit. Like, what? Well, tell them to get it together then, god damn it. I tell her, like, she respects, she respects, it just is, I don't think there's, again, it's not evil. It's just so deep in the mentality. Like, they can't even, like, they can't see it. You see, these motherfuckers will do whatever they can to go save a dog. These motherfuckers will block off streets for a dog's funeral. All right. These motherfuckers will fight for dogs in video games and everything. If you hurt a dog in a video game, they'll make that a hate crime. Meanwhile, knowing their ancestors getting rich off of stealing shit and manipulating shit from all the brown people. Oh, well, they got to get together. I don't know what they're doing. Like, it's gross. Like, it's really, now again, even with that logic, I don't want to hurt. Like I said, this is what I'm saying. Like, all that guilt, like, it compounds within them, and it's like, and it's hard, sad, and funny to watch, like, all at the same time, right? It really is. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to hurt them, but it's like they know the score for real, and it's like, oh, well, now he's mad and all this and all. Like, no, I'm not mad. It's just it's reality. I live in it. I don't have a chance to just like, take off my blackness and and be like you. I have to live with reality. You can choose to ignore it and, act like it doesn't exist and, that kind of thing. But I have to live with it. Like, speaking on video games, what's your take on EA getting bought for 55 billion from the soft? Well, I'm glad something happened at EA. Because I don't know anybody who's a fan of EA at this point. They've completely just fucked up everything they possibly could. I'm glad something at least happened. I don't know anything about who bought them or anything. I didn't know they sold it, but something had to happen. I'm glad it did. So hopefully they'll get off that NFL license. Hopefully they just restructure all that shit. EA was just completely fucked up. They will pay for stray dogs, vet services, but won't help pay for medical coverage for other people and make it make sense. Yeah, it's rough, man. Bring the same immigrants from Ukraine. It's a different story. Yeah. AD, what phone you have? I have an iPhone. I don't know. I had an iPhone 7. This is one of those SEs or something. I don't know. What's this? Oh, but here's the thing. This happened today. So I was riding a bus, which I hate buses because in America, I grew up in America, so like buses are always like this. I grew up in the U.S., so I know what buses are in America. Buses are like, that's what poor drug addicts use buses. But over here, it's more normalized in Europe, and it's the quickest way to get to where I had to go today. And like no white people would sit next to me on the bus. They would go sit like everywhere else, and I left the seat open. They wouldn't sit next to me, and until one girl did, and I looked down at her because she got on her phone. I happened to look down on her phone. She was Russian. She was either Ukrainian or Russian. The Czechs are really like just uncultured when it comes to that. Like, I'm not gonna say it happens every time, but it definitely happens enough for you to notice it. Like they're just like uncultured when it comes to like brown people. Like for example, my wife, she was with my son, and she bumped into one of her old neighbors, right? And she seen now I never seen this neighbor at all, right? And she seen him like she was in the street, he was in a car or something and passing by her, and he pulled over and stopped. And she seen my son and was like, "Hey, I just went to Africa. I seen a bunch of African kids." Like, how do you know my son is even half black? You know what I mean? Like, he could be literally, this motherfucker is straight up mulatto. Like, he could be anything. Why are you talking about Africa right now? Like, they're just so like uncultured when it comes to like anything that's not black. I mean, anything that's not white. Like, they're just like they can be extremely like socially awkward. Like they can be. It's just like it's so awkward. But yeah, the girl who sat next to me, the one who ended up finally sat next to me, she was either Russian or Ukrainian. Now here's the thing: the Ukrainian girl, the Ukrainians will usually be the Ukrainian women, the Ukrainian people would okay. I'm gonna break it down to women. The Ukrainian women will usually be much nicer. They're never on that um they're not like okay. Czech women are just extremely socially awkward. Like Czech people in general can be like just extremely socially awkward. They'll blame it on communism and all that, but there's no excuse. Get your shit together. That's my opinion on it. Um, but like the Ukrainian women, they are noticeably more normal. Um, Now Russian women are always a problem everywhere you go. My Russian friend, he tells me about the Russian girls back in Russia, back in Moscow. He said, yeah, they're terrible. Like Russian girls are almost always a problem. There's just this certain level of like hustler in them, and it's just not comfortable to ever be around them. But they can look good, so that's what kind of gets them over. You know what I mean? But like the Ukrainian girls would generally be better to just like bump into and talk to. Overall, they'll usually be far better. Do you think Czechs are worse than Western Europe? Your Western Europe when it comes to race and your experience. Um, well, here's the thing. Czechs are just socially awkward, and I'm not saying it to be negative. They can be very socially awkward. Um, because the weird part was like how they were affected by joining the European Union and how they were affected by communism. Now, when I say affected by communism, because I was educating my wife about this, because she didn't, because like, most Czechs don't even know their own history. They'll just tell you the tidbits and hope you just believe it. So like when it came to communism, like Czech Republic literally had it like the easiest of all European countries with communism. Like out of all the countries that end up in communism, Czech Republic had it by far the easiest. By far, right? Like it's not even close. But the thing was, it was since they had it so easy, they focused harder on the negatives and end up building their whole identity off of communism. Whereas all the other countries, pretty much financially and everything, independently minded. Like when communism ended in Russia, them motherfuckers took off in Russia. Like they didn't give a fuck when that shit was over. Like they in the other Eastern European countries, they shot up the ladder. Like when that shit was over, it might took a little while, but but Czechs they really base their mentality. A lot of their culture is still on this whole don't bring too much attention on yourself because you don't want attention because in those cultures you'll just come up missing. These kind of things. So your question was, do you think Czechs are worse? I think it could be perceived as worse because they'll just be so unbelievably cold and like passive. But in reality, um, it's more the awkwardness that makes them worse, not necessarily like you know, uh, not necessarily anything they'll do personally to you. It's just that they're just extremely socially awkward, and in my opinion, I think it's just a country of just missed opportunities because they have very pretty women, naturally beautiful women, and it's just a country just missed opportunities, like in many ways. Um, in the West, it depends on which West you're talking about. If you're talking about the West, like a bigger, like fluent English speaking country, like you got to remember, since I'm a black dude and I'm an African American and I'm over here, you do have some people who will immediately look at me and know I'm not African. But there's also a decent amount of people who will look at me and believe I'm really African and I'm just pretending like I'm not African, kind of thing. Um, so it depends on where you're talking about in Western Europe. Like for example, when I was in Portugal, like I felt like I was getting judged as like an African who migrated to Portugal. You know what I mean? Like because it's a big thing there. I felt like I was being judged as that. Like they don't see like American or like anything. All they see is like from their perspective is if you're brown, you're a poor you're a poor person who came here for an opportunity in life, kind of thing. So here's the thing, like in the few cases where this actually came up, and I actually bring up like no, actually like I actually where I come from, like you're the poor person. And this is a step down from me. Like it could be offensive, so I learned to stop doing that because it'll offend them. Like, cause like here's the thing, with other countries and see as America, like we don't think about being called a poor country, even though people are struggling financially in North America now. If anybody called North America a poor country, like nobody in America would get mad or ever take it serious. But if you say like as an American, if you say like Czech Republic's a poor country, they'll fuck around and get mad at you for that. Or if you say Poland is a poor country, like they'll get like offended by that, right? Um, but honestly, Jane, it depends on back to your question. It depends on it depends on where it's because if you're talking like for example, when I was in Scotland, I think Scotland was just far enough north where I didn't see any other black people in Scotland. So I think by the time they would see you, and especially if you're in like the capital city and your clothes don't look terrible or anything, like they must automatically assume you're like a higher up worker kind of thing. Like you're not like sweeping you're not sweeping floors anymore at all. Um, let's say for example like Germany, um, the Germans have a real bad identity crisis going on, and a lot of that is from America castrating their country with the whole Nazi thing. And other is Europe just automatically blaming Germany for everything. So like they're too afraid to ever say they don't like anything. And so you never really know like if the person is like acting nice to you because of because they're being watched socially or because they've actually been guilt tripped into like having to like you kind of thing because of what their country did in the past. Like Germany in like I have no interest in going to Berlin. I have no interest in really in going back. Like I just didn't really like the feeling of Germany on that level. I'm not saying there's probably not good places. I'm sure there's great places everywhere. But I feel like when it gets on topics of like politics or anything like that, it's going to end up the same way like with American racism. Like you would have to live there to be able to hear the tones, to pick up on the undertones of what was going on, to know what's really happening. Right, like I said in America with Charlie Kirk, just by how he said gang violence, I immediately knew the white dude he was, just how his tone. But now, if you take somebody from the UK and play that, like they probably couldn't hear it because it's just different cultures, different accents, all that. So that and see, this is why I really think American news should not be played in the world because there's just so many deeper intricacies to North America that like the rest of the world just can it's impossible for them to ever understand. And I even told my wife this. I said, look, why is it that nobody like why is it when Singapore does something, nobody, immediately has a million opinions about Singapore and all that. But when America does it, why is it, when India or Singapore, all these other countries that have English popular, the Philippines, why is it when something happens in their news, nobody all of a sudden has a PhD from Google about but when America does it, now all of a sudden everybody thinks they know about, and it's really annoying. I find it extremely annoying as an American. Like I find it very annoying. What's up, Simon Lewis? Germany has it the worst when it comes to white guilt and conquers guilt because no one will let them forget it. Yeah, Japan managed to get over their World War II crimes and barely remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like Germany's cool. I'm not saying Germany's bad. Germany's definitely cool. Like I would go about once a month, probably about 6 7 years ago now, but probably about 8 years ago actually. I would go once a month. I remember because I had a PlayStation Vita, and I would go to Germany. I would drive to Dresden, and I would go to this one bar, and I would just play my PlayStation Vita. I had Little Big Planet, and I never thought I would have enjoyed Little Big Planet. I never played Little Big Planet until I got that PlayStation Vita because I never had a Vita, and I had always wanted one, so I bought one then. And I would take it to Germany and play it in the bar while I drink a beer in this one bar in Dresden. Um, uh, but it, like I said, I went to a brothel. It was terrible. Like that was like American level quality women there. It was awful. And because they was ugly and they had attitudes, like nah, horrible. Well, okay, Monk God. See, here's the thing. So, okay, I don't even know who this is. Monk God. You said the man with the world's highest IQ. Yeah, see, if they were just to hear him talk, like if they were just to hear him talk and not be able to pick up on the undertones on anything, and again, most of the rest of the world is completely ignorant to like Most of the world is ignorant in general, but like most of the rest of the world is completely ignorant to Americans' actual history. right? Because guess who owns American media? So it's like if Americans own the media, they're never going to put out anything that's negative. That's going to, they're not going to, fuel that shit. So like when you, so this is why like most of, here's the thing. I just hate to hear. I just not hate. I find it extremely frustrating when literally anybody has an opinion on North America, on anything that comes out of North America. Because most of the time it's either like 20% of it's true, it's completely misunderstood from the very beginning, literally from the very beginning. um, or they'll go to like a place like New York City and think that that's America. They think that they've only been to New York and they think that that's what all of North America is like. It's just a severely ignorant perspective, or they'll go there like on a good job, like so they're not seeing any reality. And if they're like, especially if they're like, a white European, they're going to be worshipped in North America, immediately worshipped in North America. I met a dude on a train. He was from Scotland. His name was Gordon. Because I went to go see him play in a band. I was coming back from Almost, and he was Scottish, and he said when he went to North America, he just loved our windows, like in your house, like he loved our window. He said like we only see that in movies, so he was just so caught up by the windows in our house, on our houses. Like how they like open up and I guess have the screen. I don't know, but he was in love with the windows. And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Oh, they must have loved you in North America, being from Scotland." He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "I didn't have to pay for anything when I was in North America." Be worshipped, be absolutely worshipped. But yeah, like, and see that's the so like they have a situation here in Czech Republic where there's a Japanese guy and like in the government who's completely against immigration. And he's in Czech. Is a Japanese guy who was an immigrant to Czech Republic, and he's completely against immigration. Like it's a complete joke. He's looked at as it, but you would never notice because again, the world doesn't care about other countries' news. Everybody cares about North America's news. When, in my opinion, I think the world should stop caring about our news and actually go off and focus on their own shit and stop sucking America's dick every 5 seconds and go build their own shit. I think it's disgusting, pathetic, and gross. The fact that the world always is but America, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Like, why don't you, like, just a note to the rest of the world. Like, why don't you sit down and figure out your own shit and stop guilting North America into paying for your shit? Like, just go focus on your own shit. That's my opinion. But yeah, I'm trying to remember because I always forget everything from that part of the world. Because I remember reading about. I watched one documentary where like a Japanese dude, like he loved torturing people, and he was torturing people. I think they go, was it they went back to China and tried to kill the Chinese, and it was like that like group 738 or something like that. I can't remember now. I always get super into like anything from like the Middle East and like Japan. I always get super into that. The only thing I can remember is the Vietnam War. Everything else I just can't. I get super into it, and it just all just falls out of my head, and I can't remember. But I want to say they had it was like it was like some group 738 or something like that, and they were just like killing bitches who were just alive. They were like they had them documented like saying, "I'm still alive. Don't kill me. Like don't cut me open. I'm still alive." Like they were screaming that shit, and they were interviewing one guy, a Japanese dude, and he was like happy saying like I loved it. This motherfucker was on recording like grinning from ear to ear, laughing about it. But again, it's not in English, so most people won't. They'll turn it off long before it gets to that point. That's American media, man. But yeah, Charlie Kirk. And my wife got mad at me for that. She got mad. I thought it was a little funny. It's fucked up, but I thought it was a little funny. Now, what I did find that was cool was that when they try to do that whole give a moment of silence for him and all that, I don't know if they showed you guys this in America. They probably didn't. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But it was like a group of like international leaders, and they tried to give a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk and that group, and all the international leaders were stomping their feet the whole time. They did not give him a moment of silence. They probably didn't show you guys in America that, but that actually happened. Yeah. AD, you mean Shiro Ishii, the demon? You, yeah. 743 if I remember. Yeah, Japan committed crimes Germany could only dream of. Yeah, yeah. But like yeah, that Charlie Kirk dude, man. Like I said, I'm not gonna claim act like I know anything about him, but I know that type. That is not a special type. Okay, Charlie Kirk, that dude. There was 15 of them dudes in my high school. It was 15 of them, easily 15 of them in my high school. The only difference is back then we didn't have YouTube and smartphones and all that back then. It was 15 of them dudes in my high school, easily. Like I said, if the world is getting off on like racist shit now, dude, they should have seen like when the internet first started to get popular and before. Like this shit is child's play now. It's just like expected, you know what I mean? Like it's expected. Like America's history is so deeply fucked up for literally no other reason than white people wanting to be white. Like that's literally the core, and I don't think the rest of the world's fully aware of that. And I'm not saying that all. I'm talking like American whites. Like these motherfuckers would starve entire peoples. Like they killed off all the buffaloes simply because the Indians liked them. I think if I'm not mistaken. Like these motherfuckers were disgusting. Like America's history is like super fucked up. And like I said, on no other merit than strictly skin color. Like literally skin color. And then like this is why I find it so sad how like being in Ohio, we would always get some Africans or something like that. They would come there thinking, yeah, I'll just work hard and blah, blah. Like they don't. And see, like African Americans, we're just that old janitor going, yeah, I bet. It's all about you working hard, bro. Like we know, because they kept the Underground Railroad up there in Ohio. Like, cause I'm from Ohio, so that's where they would travel. They would cross the Ohio River to get to freedom, and you can see the houses. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go see them houses where they would hide the slaves, like in like where Harry Potter was sleeping, like under the stairs and shit like that. They would hide them, and they would show you all that shit. They'd cross that big ass river first off, and then they would go hide in them houses for months. Cause there was some good white people. They just wasn't on that shit. They would hide the slaves. But now, let me be very clear. There are definitely like even now, dude. There's like and now this is a good part about America is that since America is so big, this benefits the African Americans. It's like okay, like the whole world really knows African Americans came out of all that, but the world doesn't really want to accept it because American media constantly pushed that black people are like really kind of fucked up. So the rest of the world's like, okay, I remember when I was dating, when I was with that girl in Argentina. It was a Vietnamese, I think she was Vietnamese or something, in Argentina. And like I was so dumb, I couldn't even put together that she was Argentinian, but she was Vietnamese. Like I was so dumb, I couldn't even think of that, right? Because she had grown up in Buenos Aires and she was studying to become a lawyer. Because I remember she had papers out. This is the girl I told you guys a story about a long time ago, where I met her off Tinder. I had never met anybody online dating before. Barely even matched in online dating. And I remember I met her on Tinder, and I didn't know the currency. So I got in a cab, and when I got to her place, I just didn't have enough money to pay for the cab. So I had to call her, and she came down to pay for the cab. And it was like, in America, you never had that happen in America. So I went upstairs, and as soon as we go in, there's a stripper pole, like, fully installed, like, on the floor. Because that was the first time I actually touched a stripper pole, and I was like, oh, it turns. I didn't know it was on bearings and shit. That motherfucker would roll. I was like, oh, now it makes sense. And she had alcohol just, like, laid out all on the table. And we talked for a while, because she ordered over some cocaine. And the cocaine was, I'm not exaggerating, the cocaine was like, this was the first time I had ever seen cocaine and done cocaine, and it was like a huge rock of cocaine. It was like, it was a big rock. She had to deliver it. A dude came over and delivered it like it was a pizza. And I remember she asked me. She said, "Why is it that American movies always show black people as either like big and strong and dumb, or like thugs, and they never show anything?" I mean, she genuinely asked me, like asking me, like, why is that? And I said, like, I don't know, you know. And she was real cool about it. She genuinely did not know why. She was cool. She was cool. I didn't sleep the whole night because I had never done cocaine, and it kept me up all night. I couldn't even have sex because it messes up your dick. It messed up my dick doing it, so I couldn't keep my dick hard, and it was just like, that was the first time I ever experienced that. Because I heard stories of people not being able to stay hard after they drink and have sex. I never had a problem with staying. Now I can't come when I drink and have sex, but with cocaine, I cannot do cocaine and have sex. Like, it just, my dick just, it would just go down randomly. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Now, see why old people panic when they can't get their dick hard. That's scary. I just think up an erection right now. Just think one up. You know what I mean? Like, at any time of day, just think that motherfucker up. And I'm ready to go. I thought I was gonna die. I did a lot for my first time. Because I remember we was in a flat. Her flat was like, like them Asian, like them in the city Asian apartments, or like in animes where it just be like tall buildings, and we were like in one of them tall buildings. It was like a bunch of tall buildings. I remember looking out the window thinking to myself, like, this wouldn't be a bad way to die. I'm not even mad. You know what I mean? Like, because this is my first time leaving America. Like, I'm not even, like I said, if I die, I wouldn't even be mad right now. Because I got to see, you know what I mean, a view from an anime. I remember she had a cleaner come over, and I was terrified because I had never seen a house cleaner. And this is something that I think the rest of the world doesn't get too. In America, house cleaners are expensive, but like when you leave the U.S., they're like pretty fucking cheap. And it was this dude, he was coming and cleaning the toilet and everything. I'm like, who was that? And she go, oh, he comes and cleans every couple days. I'm like, word? I feel classy now. Somebody's cleaning. But I got over that shit real fast. I don't like paying for luxury. What's up, Oliver Biscuit? There's been 5 mass shootings that made national news in the U.S. in the last 2 weeks alone. It's getting more crazy in the U.S. word. When you say Harry Potter, do you mean Harry? No, Harry Potter. Like they like live. No, I meant Harry Potter, like where they would how Harry Potter slept under the stairs. Like That's how the slaves would have to. They would sleep in a place like that in these houses when I would go, like where Harry Potter, like the movie. They would sleep in like these small, and they would stay there for like months, dude. Like they ain't had no, they ain't have Netflix and that motherfucker. They was just sitting there, just chilling. Could you imagine just chilling could like think about that shit. Like your life had to be so bad. Like think about the context of slavery, right? Like, see, and this is what I'm talking about, the difference between slavery and serfs. Like, because Europeans, they love to combat. Yeah, we had serfs too. Like, no, bruh. Serfs and American slavery was two whole different monsters, right? Okay, under serfdom, as long as you just did the work for the week, you could have a weekend off, right? Okay, slavery, these motherfuckers' lives was so bad that they said, I don't, okay, these motherfuckers direct because it was illegal for them to be educated. So they had no idea of anything. And these motherfuckers were so fed up that they would disappear in the night and just trust a motherfucker with their life. They remember they didn't have Google Maps. Okay, they couldn't call 911 if something happened. Okay. They had none of that. And their life was so bad, motherfuckers signed up for that shit on a weekly basis. There was a wait list for Harriet Tubman. The bitch came back, fucking 9 pages full. The motherfuckers just signed up, ready to go. Wait, is my turn yet? Okay, maybe next week. Or next month, because that's a long-ass walk. That walk would take you probably about a month and a half, for real. It'd be raining. You know what I mean? You imagine that? The dogs out, all that. And these motherfuckers did all that and never thought to be like, damn. Okay, could you imagine walking literally 400 miles, right? Think about this. These motherfuckers would walk. These motherfuckers walked 400 miles. Okay, and they don't know where they at. Right? And after every mile, they didn't chicken out and be like, you know what? Slave master wasn't that bad. We just go back and, it wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? Reginald really wasn't that bad. He just beat me like once every 2 weeks. It didn't even hurt that much, man. Like, is this worth it? Let's just go back and just talk it out. He beat me. He'll understand. You know what I mean? These motherfuckers kept going. You would think after mile 5, your feet start breaking down. You'd be like, uh-oh. I think I regret this decision. You know what I mean? But think of these motherfuckers would habitually walk 400 miles time after time after time. You see how fucked up their life must have been? That is the equivalent. That is damn near the equivalent of jumping out the World Trade Center when that bitch was on fire. Like, think about when these motherfuckers was on like the 60th floor, whatever the fuck floor they was on, right? And the motherfucker was on fire, and motherfuckers was jumping out the building. How bad must it have been in that building where they thought to themselves, you know what? I might be better off jumping out this motherfucker. Like, excuse me? That was horrible, dude. Like, these motherfuckers like, shoo, I got out of that motherfucker. And they just falling. Like, that's terrible. That's what slavery was. To them, is in the mindset, because you got to remember, they didn't know where they was at. They don't know anybody. There's nobody to help them like that. All right, that is pretty much a death sentence to do something like that. Or be horribly, terribly punished. And so to try to compare serfdom to slavery is a fucking joke. Like, it's an absolute joke. Imagine having to walk north to escape slavery in the dead of winter. Yeah, the motherfuckers didn't have, they ain't have Timberland coats. Shit that was made for the cold. They ain't have, no, these motherfuckers had cloth. Them motherfuckers had to dress in layers of shitty cloth because you better believe they wasn't getting any good cloth at that. They were slaves. What they need good cloth for? They don't need good cloth. And they be steadily trying to compare serfdom to that shit. Get the fuck. Serfdom was a fucking joke compared to that shit. If you ask any slave, would they rather be a slave or a serf? Every single slave would have been like, I'll be a serf, bro. And as any serf, would they rather be an African American slave? They would all pick serfdom, dude. Nobody would pick slavery. Like, the fact that this shit even comes up in arguments, man, or like in debates is like hilarious. That's just like so much of that like of that American white guilt, man. It's like it's so sick. Like it's just disgusting. Jesus Christ. I wish people get educated on it because it's not all the same problems as the racism in the 60s or even the 90s to a small. Oh, yeah, what's gotten much better now than when I was in college? It's gotten much better. And, it's definitely, it's gotten much better. Like, for example, like, okay, let's take like racism here, right? We were standing outside speaking with two other women. One of them was an American woman, and the other one was a Czech woman. But we thought she was like Arabic or something, but she was just tan. She was a Czech woman, and we were all sitting and we were all talking. It was me, my wife. We had just everybody had just dropped our kids off at school. This is a walking city, so we were all walking. And but we were standing and we were talking, right? And see, this is just how casual the racism is, like in the world, right? Because the rest of the world doesn't get the same recognition for racism because nobody speaks their language, their native languages. So we were outside talking, and I brought up how this is an international school, and the woman, the Czech woman, she goes, yeah, yeah, like we were looking at private schools, but like they were too expensive, which is true. And most true Westerners will never send their kids to one of these expensive international schools. Like these expensive international schools are generally for the poor posers who are playing with the idea of luxury. Like I do not know an American or a British person here who sends their kid to one of these expensive Westerner schools here. I don't know one. They're all like the fakers doing that. But anyway, back to the woman. She said how she goes, yeah, like we were gonna send them to a private school, but it was expensive and all that. But and she goes, and the problem with it is it's going to be like just filled with all Czech people, posing like they're rich, and she wanted her kid to be around different types of people, and she starts saying, yeah, like now with my kid going here, they could be around Russian kids, Ukrainian kids, Czech kids, Italian kids. They can even play with gypsies and this and that, right? Now I got to be very clear with you, like the word. See now again, see, it's these situations. I don't know if she knew that I know this, but like I always say on YouTube, like gypsy is like saying the N word. So now, if there had been a gypsy standing there, she would not have said the word gypsy. And I don't know if she knew that I knew that. Like, that's the thing. Like, because since she knew I was American, she probably figured that I didn't know. So, like, literally, what she said was, "Yeah, my kid can play with Russians, the Ukrainians, the niggers, the Chinese." Like, that's literally what she said in the context of Czech Republic, right? Right. And it's just so deep in them. Like they just don't even, it's yeah. But like I said, you will never find a Czech person call a Roma person a gypsy person. You will never hear them say the word gypsy if there's a gypsy person in the room because they know. Now they figured like I don't know or an American person may not know, but they know. They know. Right. See, so like for example, when it gets to America, you got these like these dingbat white bitches romanticizing. Let's do this. These American gypsy, where the white women just they glorify this shit. See, these are more realistic. Can you guys see that? Yeah, these are more realistic gypsies. But like I know for a while I can't find what I'm looking for. Yeah, see Americans don't know. Americans, so you can chat GPT it or whatever. Like that's offensive to them. Like Americans don't know at all. So like for example, like I can, because I remember I told my wife, I said, because one time I was sitting in the mall with my son and he was asleep. So I was eating like at this just random area you can sit in the mall. And this light skinned dude walks up to me and like real broken English. And he goes, hey, where you from? I say, I'm from America. And he goes, oh, American, right? He goes, I'm gypsy, right? And we talked for a while off of that. And his wife was a white woman, but she didn't speak any English. But the dude could speak some English. He was a gypsy, right? And I told my wife, I said, yeah, like he came up and he just told me that. And she goes, yeah, he would never do that to me. Like he did that to you because you're black. Like it's that like it's the understanding that we're both lessers in the world. You know, that kind of, so like I can say it like the N word kind of thing. Like I can say it, but like a white person cannot say gypsy unless they're like cool with them. Tyson Fury. Who is that? I remember hearing that dude. The dude on the right looks like a gypsy. Looks like a gypsy, but the dude on the left, I don't know. They do have different shades of gypsies. Like I've heard they have like gypsies that'll look like completely white, and I think in the UK somewhere. Maybe I don't. What's this? Because he could have like with over here in Europe, they could have. I don't know. I don't know. Said he's a British professional boxer. Blah, blah. He was born. Oh, okay. No, 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 no. Okay, now I know this. No, his family were them travelers. I just learned about that recently when I went to Ireland. So the Irish, they had, okay, no, he's not a gypsy. He's probably, if I had to guess, which I might be completely wrong about this, but if I had to guess, what happened was he just used the term gypsy because it was probably more known in the world. You know, he's a family of a traveler. So I didn't know what travelers were until I went to Ireland, right? And it kind of scared me, right? Because we was in this bar and and they're white. They're like white people. They're like completely white, but they don't speak. We were in Ireland and they don't speak English. Like they just speak like super broken. They're like something's just not right. Like in their, I don't know what happened, but like, and it's real hard to explain, but they're just not right. Like in their fucking head, and it's like just a community of them like that, and they're just like, I don't know because I got so interested. I tried to look up if that was just a thing everywhere you go. Do you just have a certain group of just defect people? You know what I mean? Like just purely like something's just like off. He's a traveler. So he's white. I don't think he's a gypsy at all. Because it says right here the son of a traveler. So it's even shocking that he made it out that family, to be honest. Because them travelers are not right. They're not violent, but they're just not right. So yeah, I don't see any. I think he would relatively be considered a gypsy in Ireland because of that, but he's not a gypsy. He's not a Roma. If I got it right, I could be wrong because up here it says this is Wikipedia, so take what it says with a grain. Gypsy or let's see, white gypsy or Irish traveler ethnicity classification. Because they're like white. They're like 100% what. They don't even look brown at all. Our Irish tribe was also called pikers. I remember Brad Pitt's character in Snatch was. I have no idea. I can't answer that, NEP. How would you compare the relationships between Czechs and Africans versus American black men? Does the woman lead? Do African men receive less respect? So, in my opinion, I actually lended a friend of mine $50 and never got it back. And coincidentally, he was Nigerian. I got scammed. He's a friend. I gave it to him like a month and a half ago, and I never heard back from him since. I'm sure he all right. I'm sure he figured it out. But to answer your question, how would you compare the relations between Czechs and Africans versus American black men? Does the woman lead? Do African men receive less respect? Okay, so in my history with this, I think it will be extremely rare that any black man will find a Czech woman who can genuinely like him for him. Even with my spouse, I could feel it. Like she doesn't like me. She doesn't. Well, most women's not gonna like the man in general anyway, but it's usually gonna boil down to one or two scenarios from every case I've ever seen. Either one, the black guy, whether it's African or African American. Well, generally it's going to. I haven't met many other African Americans who had a Czech wife, to be honest with you. The only other African American I did meet here, he was with a Ukrainian woman, and they lived here. So I can only speak on my experiences. So with the African men, the Czech women do kind of always kind of carry this sense of the African man is lesser, right? And she's just kind of putting up with him, right? And I could feel it. I remember when I was with my ex-wife, we went and like all her girlfriends were with black guys too, right? Like all of them. Like every couple in there was an interracial couple with a black dude, but I was the only American. They were all African, and they like the Czech women carry themselves like they don't carry themselves as if the man's actually leading anything. They pretty much just completely disregard them and just really just use them for sex, pretty much, and a little bit of resources. Now, I think where I don't fit in as an American is honestly, I think they're confused. But I think Czech women are confused by African Americans because their entire lives, the only black people, if they ever seen a black person in their life, the only black person they ever seen was in some way, shape, or form lesser than them. Because of just that status level of how Africa's perceived, not necessarily what it is, but how it's perceived. So when it comes to to myself, I feel like they are ultimately confused. Because when they think African American, it's like they think America, but they don't have much reference for black guys outside of what little were represented in movies and media. So actually, I actually just had this conversation with my wife a couple of days ago. We were talking about what was it? Because we were talking about how it was when my dad was on the phone with us, and I told my dad how it's funny how like they get Step by like the old TV shows like Step by Step, Home Improvement, Friends. They get all that shit over here, and it's so funny because I always have to tell the Czech people like no, like those shows were like second rate shows. Like Family Matters was like the headline show, and Step by Step came on like 10:30 when the shit was over with. Like I watched Step by Step, but it wasn't like a headline and show. It was just something to watch. You know what I mean? But they don't know that because it's just all they see is white. Right, so it's like, so I asked her. I said, because it seemed like whenever it comes to African Americans, they're extremely uncultured, extremely uncultured. So I asked her. I said, did you guys even get the Cosby Show? Did you guys ever? I asked her. I said, did you guys ever see any media where black people can just be casually educated and not entertaining you all the time. And, doing something to entertain you. They were just casually educated. Like, hey, did you guys ever get the Cosby Show? Did you ever get any fucking show where black people were just like just casually decent? And she said, I think she said in Italy they got the Cosby Show, but they never got it in Czech Republic. So I said, like that is fucked up. So I said, like, could you imagine? I said, so let's flip it, right? On how fucked up this is. Let's flip it. Let's say, okay, the Fresh Prince is known globally, but not like. I'll get in that later. Okay, so the example I gave her, I said, okay, let's say if you went to like an all black community, and the only white person they ever seen on TV was Jim Carrey in his prime, right? Where he's always going, and all that, right? He was just extremely goofy, and the cable guy, the mask, these kind of things. Which I'm not Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you were to go to like, the middle of a black community, and the only media that people ever got was Jim Carrey, well, all the black people would think all white people should be like Jim Carrey, and if they're not like Jim Carrey, something's wrong with them, right? So it's like it's the same way the other way around. So it's like with her, I still have to tell her even now. I said, look, just because I'm not like dancing around entertaining you doesn't mean I'm mad at you. I'm just chilling. Like, see, because they're just so uncultured. They don't know how to like I said, they respect dogs more than they respect brown people, right? See, a dog can just be normal, but like a black person can never just be normal. They either got to be dancing, throwing a ball, or you know what I mean? So like they can't be a dude who just kind of likes to play Mario Kart. He can't do it. Because now it's like, oh, I don't know what you are. You not a rapper? You don't dunk a ball? What are you? That kind of thing. So to answer your question, I'm in a weird boat, and I don't think my spouse even knows what to do with me. Because she kind of takes me being mad. And I tell her, no, I'm not mad, but this is how you and everybody here treats me. It's like, you, like, as a black person, you either got to be, a star or a street sweeper. Like, they don't know how to, like, they just don't see brown people as human. At best, you're a Pokemon to them. You know what I mean? Like, you're their pet Pokemon. Now, some black guys can get off on that. Like, they'll just have sex with a bunch of women all for the fact that they're essentially their pet Pokemon, and they're just getting the fuck, a 10 out of 10 type of thing. But like, I grew out of that pretty early in my time here. There's black guys who go off to Russia and do that. There was one YouTuber I used to watch. He went off to Russia doing that. He was just their pet Pokemon. That's all he was just their little Pikachu, that kind of thing. Take him out that ball when they wanted to play with him. Then when they done with him, put him back in that ball and put him in that back pocket type of shit. And, that kind of thing. But to answer your question, how they treat African men versus African, I can definitely sense it. Like African men are definitely seen as like, there's okay in a weird way. It's like you will be exotic, but at the core, you're like you just being black in general. You're at best you're always going to be kind of seen as like this secret Pokemon toy. Like, you're never just going to be just human. You know what I mean? Like, or if you're human, it's not going to last for too long. It's always going to be this more temporary. When they're just like on a rant, now you can kind of you could feel it. Like, now you're actually just becoming human to them, kind of thing. If you had to set up roots anywhere, do you think it would be in Czech? No, Eric. The only reason I'm even in Czech Republic now is because I have a son here now. I would have, if I didn't have a son, I would have. I'm fairly certain I would have left a long time ago. It's a shame what happened to Cosby. He was definitely set up. Black people can't just be normal. If you're normal, they think something is wrong with you. Yeah, yeah. So here's like I said, like if you just want to hook up, if you want to know what it's like to be desirable in any way, and relatively kind of stand out and be noticed, yeah, Czech Republic is a country like this is great. But when you hear the sad part about this life that I'm living is you get to see all the realities, right? You get to see like because you got a lot you're always around some beautiful woman somewhere, and it's more sad to see like these beautiful women age out and either get older or get fat or just lose their looks in general because they're drinking too much or they never got the message that they aged out of going to clubs, and you start to see the cycle go on, and if in a weird way it hurts more to see it happen to really good looking girls that's normal, not like really good looking girls in America who are cunty, but really good looking girls here where it's normal to be a good looking girl. Like I would love to talk to Hugh Hefner to hear how he managed it, or like Leonardo DiCaprio. I would love to sit down with Leonardo DiCaprio to hear how he deals with it, because of course it looks good from the outside, but when you, like I said, when you're in it, um, you see a lot more realities. So in more cases than not, I'm actually more disappointed being here. The longer I stay here, because the longer I stay here, it just becomes more and more clear that 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 I will always be an outsider. I will have to be extremely lucky to find somebody who can just be who genuinely knows how to be around a black person, and it's not like something special. You know what I mean? Like it's not like for example with me, like in the position I'm in now, in the circles I'm gonna go in, either I'm like the special one or I'm a complete nobody on the tram or train, right? There is no such thing as just like it's just being a normal dude. Like they just don't like their mentality is so backwards and slow and fucked up, like, and just generally just uncultured and ignorant on a whole. Like they just, most people here just will not have the capacity to to be normal. Now, America does have racism, but also you will in America you will find people you can just be normal around, right? You can find that in North America. Now it's a matter of time before an issue happens, but you can find it. Whereas here, very rare, very rare. I know a woman that used to be beautiful just 5 years ago, but she's aging and is starting to get sagging jowls in her 30s. She hasn't gained too much weight, but it's just aging bad in the face. Yeah, JM. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to watch, and like I said, it really is. It's hard to watch women age because, like for example, today I was in a class today, and the girls in there are just beautiful. Like the girls in this class, there is literally not a centimeter of space on their body that is not perfect, right? I mean, one of the girls is 30, the two other ones are like 20, and they are just absolute perfection. Like body weight, dressing style, makeup, hair, like they can't be ugly kind of thing. Like it's impossible. It's impossible to find a bad angle to take a picture of them kind of thing, right? And the sad part is like, because they're just born into that position of that just natural beauty. But when it starts to age, like many of them don't take it well and they get mad when you try to tell them, you know, like my ex-wife, she gained weight, but she was definitely salvageable still. And I think I told this story a long time ago. I remember she was in the bathroom, and I seen her in the bathroom, and she was holding her stomach, like pinching it, like, grabbing the fat kind of thing. She was still salvageable. It wasn't bad, but she was gaining weight, and she was looking at it getting sad, you know. And like with my wife now, so I tell her, look, the weight gain is not bad. You have to dress. You actually have to put an effort now. See, these girls are not used to putting an effort they're used to just being able to throw on anything and being fuckable. So when you tell them, like when they start to age and you start to tell them, like, okay, no, you actually have to think about something before you put it on, all they heard was, you're being mean to me. Why are you telling me I have to put an effort? Are you calling me ugly now? Right? That's all they heard. So they don't like, and I think that's the real sad part about Czech women in general. And this goes back to the higher education rates, why they're so low amongst Czechs. Education rates here are very low. They're one of the lowest in all of Europe. They don't go off to higher education. That's a statistical fact. It was even published by a Czech website, because I showed it to my wife to tell her, like, look, I'm not making this stuff up, because your own country wrote it on Facebook with references to the statistics. And not only that, there was somebody in the comments who was more like me. He said, look, these numbers are inflated because they're lying about education rates. In reality, it's probably more like 20 to 25% of them actually do it. But this goes back into education rate in education. See, this is another issue with lower education in countries with this situation. Education forces you to think in ways you don't want to think. See, going off to get an education. See, I would make fun of the American education system for doing this, but in reality, this is the reason why the American education system actually innovates and creates things, where most of the rest of the world just mimics and copies things. Right? This is where the American education system does an excellent job that most other countries either completely fail at, or if they actually do it, the country's so weak they can't really do anything with it. So the American education system, let's say you go to school for engineering, right? Well, 2 years before you take engineering courses, you're gonna have to take philosophy, painting, whatever the fuck, some other bullshit, right? Some stuff that you're not even interested in. Now, the reason why that's done on a countrywide level is exactly what I stated earlier. Is to force you into thinking in ways that are uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're truly growing as an individual when it comes to critical thinking. Right? See, most other countries, that's why in Czech Republic, you get a bachelor's degree in 3 years. That's the norm. See, they're missing that critical thinking. They don't have critical thinking to properly analyze shit and act on it. Like, their education system is still built up on strictly memorization, and that's it. There is no adapting, critical thinking, researching, going backwards. See, for example, this is just a quick example. Let's say teaching 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? American schools will teach you, okay, 2 plus 2 equals 4, but 1 plus 3 equals 4. 3 plus 1 equals 4. 4 plus 0 equals 4. Now, if 4 minus 3 equals 1, well, we got to make it 0, so 4 minus 4 equals 0. We'll do frontwards, backwards, up and down, all that. Whereas, like, let's take a country like Czech Republic's education system, they will strictly tell them to memorize 2 plus 2 equals 4. And that's it. So there's no sense of thinking in upside down, backwards, intricate ways and applying it to something. They're just memorizing. So when they have finals in school, you know what their finals are? They just stand in front of a class and they'll ask them a question and they just recite bullshit. They just memorize it. So they have no sense of critical thinking. And this is why America, at this moment, is still by far the best in actually taking things, innovating them, and then putting it on the whole world to where the whole world wouldn't even know how to operate without it. That's not by accident. But back to the women thing. This even comes out when it comes to women. See, these critical thinking skills, they don't have any of it. So it's like, you will get lucky. Some women will kind of see it and work with it. Usually because these were the women who travel kind of thing. But for the Czech women here, they'll do the same thing. Like somebody said, was it JM with the woman who aged? They do the same thing because they don't have that ability to strip out emotions and just look at the reality. It's the rest. See, this is another part that Americans and the rest of the world are complete in miscommunication on. See, most other countries in the world are very feminine. Everything they do will be based off of their emotions and how they feel, even when it comes to customer service, right? In America, customer service is our job, our duty. It's literally part of our job and duty to give good customer service. If you do not give good customer service and you start getting told on at your job, you will get in trouble for that shit. See, out here, it's non-existent. They don't care. Is the customer service is okay? Do you feel like being nice to customers? Okay, then cool. If you don't, then okay, cool. Right? They don't have that extra sense of innovation to what they're doing. It's just you got job, do job now, and that's it. That's why see these little things are why America. So see another thing, like remember back when was it when Trump first brought those tariffs in, and China, there was a leader in China, and all these Chinese people got on Instagram and all this saying, "Hey, yeah, like we'll sell you Gucci bags for $30 and all that shit." And I told my spouse, I said, "Look, China is so fucking retarded when it comes to this shit." And this is my explanation, because China is in that same mode. It's I give you job, you do job, here's job now, right? What these see what the, where America kicks the world's ass completely is in understanding things like loyalty, trustworthiness. You see what I'm saying? See the fact that you can go to Walmart and return something without a receipt. The fact that you see what I'm saying? These little things. The fact you can call Amazon and get your refund and keep the product because it was broken. See it's these acts of trustworthiness is what strengthens that bond. If Amazon fucked up your order, they'll fuck around and tell you to keep the first one and we'll send you another one. Right? So you will see, and the part where China had it fucked up, China has it completely fucked up, is they see China's forgetting that sense of quality assurance and trustworthiness. See, yeah, China can sell you Gucci purses for $30, but you may not get what you may get a purse that's 2 inches long. And oh well, we set our return date for 7 days, and it took 10 days for the package to get to you. Oh well, buy another one. Yeah, see all that. See the last thing China wants. See, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but the last thing that China needs is for America to get up out of China. Because see, people really forget how bad them Chinese knockoffs was before Apple put them factories out there. People forgot how bad them Chinese knockoffs was 25 years ago. Y'all motherfuckers really forgot that. China and Americans, both of y'all forgot how bad them Chinese knockoffs. Them Chinese knockoffs be so bad. They would write like, let's say it was an iPhone, it would be like literally like a Nokia 2030, and they would just write iPhone on the back of it. It would be like that bad. Quality assurance was like atrocious. That shit stepped up when America put them factories out there. Then China does what China does, because since they don't have any laws against copyright, they'll just copy anything. They don't care. You know what I mean? They'll just copy anything and just imitate it, manipulate it. Because I'm fairly certain in China they have no laws. Let me just Google this to make sure. Let's do does China have? Let me see. Intellectual and because oh okay here because let me show you this case about the Segway. Because I remember what happened with the Segway. Because for those of you older, you remember the Segway. For those of you younger, what the Segway was, I'm sure you might know what it is. Segway was pretty much just like you stood on it and had two wheels on the side. Is this? Wait, no, that's not it. Because it is old and it's gone out of business. This is a segue. See them people riding on that? That is a segue. Well, that's what I'm talking about. These things, right? So what China did was China when China figured out how to make segways, China made bootleg. They literally just mimicked the American invention, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a Chinese invention. They mimicked the invention, but they mimicked it and made it better. And they sold so many segways, so many copyrighted segways or copyright infringed segways that by the time Segway took them to court, the Chinese company just bought all the Segway because they just made that much money off of it at the time. Because again, this was years ago. This is a long time ago. Things have changed now. But yeah. But literally, the worst thing that could happen in China would be for America to take them factories up out of there. I mean, they might be all right for a little while longer, but as soon as America came up with some more technology, that would be it. They'd be back to writing iPhone on the back of Nokia's again. It would be terrible. Oh, customer service in America is literally like Americans think America's bad, but like compared to the rest of the world, dude, America is fucking great with a lot of shit. With a lot. But yeah, so Monk, I used to hate all those classes. Why am I learning history? Yeah, so Monk, the reason why that is because it's forcing you to think in ways that aren't comfortable. Because if, for example, if you when you go to these countries where all the people ever knew was how to dig in mines, well, that's all they know how to do. They don't know how to do anything else. They don't because that's all they've ever done. So as soon as the mine shut down or fall over or whatever, like the people are literally just sitting ducks. They have no other awareness on anything or how to even make anything else happen. They don't know anything. So the more education the more well-rounded education that you can force on the people, the better chances that they'll have at truly adapting and developing and creating things so they can actually defend themselves in the world on some level. Or else you end up like Europe and you just need North America to defend you every 5 seconds. Right, that's how Europe became Europe. After the education boom and the technology boom, Europe just completely stagnated because America just left them in the dust entirely, and half of this shit was off of their actual inventions, like the car and the internet was actually the internet, if I'm not mistaken, was British, and in America, internet, if I'm not mistaken, internet was British. And then the Americans got a hold of it and made internet what it is today. No, this was by the time it came to America. But this sounds about right with the sir. This one sounds it was British shit, and they brought it to America, and then Americans actually made it usable. Just like the car, like the first car, if I'm not mistaken, was I don't want to say Bugatti. Was it Benz? I don't know. But Americans actually made it usable for the world. Well, intranet. Okay, so this is my degree in network engineering. So with intranet is intranet, from what I remember, is just like it's just a small version of the internet. It's just an enclosed area that, like, for example, like a form of intranet could be like my phone that can only connect to your phone, that can only connect to like my brother's phone, and we're all on this. That would be like an intranet within an internet kind of thing. If I remember correctly, I could have it wrong too. I don't know. I'm getting tired. But yeah. Watching him hit the wall is a sad spectacle, and even sadder watching him start to get sad and miserable. Yeah, Mr. Smith, yeah, it really is. It's like this really sad cycle. It's like they know they're aging and fucking up, but they can't accept it. So now, but they're still getting mad about it because they know it, but they don't want it because it's like accepting it means that they have to accept that they fucked up, and they can't do that because that's accountability for women, and it's just cycle, and it's really, and like I said, for me it hurts more living in a place like Prague where, like, the women for what they are will be very beautiful, and it's just continuously wasted potential. Like they'll be beautiful but work at like a fruit stand or something. Like they just do nothing with their, like as a woman, if you're just physically attractive and it's clear you know how to read and you literally just focused on anything, you'll be a goddess. Just anything. And there's just so much completely wasted. Like Czech Republic on a whole, in terms of, it's just a completely wasted opportunity. Because and then it's like if they focus on something, well, they'll be so socially awkward, you don't even want to talk to them. Because I've been here long enough to see it. I don't even want to talk to a lot of them because they're just so socially awkward. But yeah, do you have an example of your partner letting you be a normal human? Not many. Okay, if I had to be completely honest, I do not have a memory, a single one. Like I feel like she's to be managed, but in terms of genuinely feeling like I'm a human in the world with a human spouse and we're like humans together into world, not many. It's either waiting for me to entertain her or she just like follows me everywhere I go like a child. Like if I gotta be completely honest, that's how I feel. That's that. Pug plays. Kevin Mugami says, I think issues with African guys tend to be super nice and accommodating with these European women. Yeah. It's a mixture of Africans are very nice. And then on top of that, the European women immediately like have like, even if they, I don't even think they're aware of it, but they have a sense of like looking down on Africa. Um like, and as an American, like I can see it. Like I can feel it and see it. I don't know if the Africans can feel it or see it, but I can feel it and see it. Like, and like I said, as an American, like I'm just like confusing for the most part. Because like some of them can't even handle that I'm American. Because I remember one time I was talking to a woman. She worked in a watch shop, a clock shop. So I wanted to buy a clock, and she asked me where was I from, and I said America. And she goes, well, where are you really from? And I said, I'm from Ohio. Because wasn't even thinking like that. And she goes, okay, no, but where are you really from? And I was like, no, and then I got what she was getting at. I said, no, I'm actually from America. That kind of thing. Like I got where she was going with it. And I remember one time I was in a bar and I almost got in a fight with one guy because there was this girl I knew. I still talk to her sometimes. She's living in Malta. She's in Malta with 3 kids. She's a single mom with 3 kids, and she's living in Malta right now. I got her right. She's from someplace in the UK, and so she will work at these bars, and it'd be like a lot of Africans in there, right? And this one dude, he pulled that on me. He goes, where you from? And I said, I'm from U.S. And he goes, and because I think to them they kind of see it like how like we see like that joke was it that Godfrey dude talking about like Dominicans think they don't think they're black. I think they kind of see. I think they take me as like that, but I'm fully aware I'm black. But so he asked me where I'm from. I said I'm from the U.S. And he goes, where are you really from? I said, well, I'm from Ohio. I said, because I'm not thinking like that. And he goes, where are you really from? I'm from Cincinnati. And then I didn't, and he asked me, so I got where he is. He asked me again. He goes, well, where are you really from? And then I get where he's going with it. I said, like, I know you want me to say Africa, and obviously I'm from Africa, but like I don't know because we had slavery, and they didn't keep track of any records of where we came from. They just changed all our ancestors' last names, and that was it, right? Like they didn't give a fuck, and he just couldn't take that as an answer, and he kept going, "Where you really from?" And he starts getting mad, and I can't remember like if I grabbed him or he grabbed me, but then his friend came and was like, "No, just chill." And he talked to him and said, don't do this and all that, blah blah. Because his friend was African too, but I guess he was a cool African who just wasn't on fighting or whatever, you know. Um, so I even asked Chad GPT about that lately, because I was thinking about that situation, and what Chad GPT told me ChatGPT told me that Africans see it as me being snob. It could potentially see it as me being like kind of snobbish, um, because because in the world it's known that, of course, like my home country is not really America, in terms of skin color and these things. Of course, it's African, but the fact that my identity is not set in Africa, and it's American, but my identity is not really quite even American at that. Like ChatGPT says something along the lines of Africans could take offense to that because their identity is like they're African and the country in Africa and all that. Like their identity is strong with that, whereas as an African American, like yeah, I'm African American, but like every day I wake up fully aware that my own country doesn't like me, right? Like, and it's no secret, right? Right. But it's like, but the Africans, like they said the Africans have a higher chance of not having either just not knowing that or just choosing not to acknowledge it, and they'll see like African Americans as like dodging because like it's this weird. I feel like it's this weird sense of like possibly envy or something, because another common thing is that I've heard this a lot too, that African Americans have all this opportunity and they're just lazy and this and that. Um, um, because they're seeing it from like their position, like in their home country of Africa or from where their home is, without realizing that, like, okay, yeah, like as an African, like where you can go back and be at home. Like where you can go back and everybody looks like you and nobody is like above you strictly because of their skin color and ethnicity and this kind of thing, right? Like when you go back home, you can go back and truly be at a home. African Americans, we don't have a home. You know what I mean? Like our home, the best home that we can call our home is North America, and it's no secret that North America doesn't even like us, right? So it's like, and then in our home, we never really feel like home because everybody is above us in our home. They think they're better than us in our home, and while we essentially built half the goddamn country. So it's like, but like from what I got from ChatGPT, like the Africans don't seem to like really look at it. I won't say on a whole, but generally speaking, like when an issue arises, they tend to completely ignore that whole part of African American side of it, and it really just ends up kind of making them look shitty for like not even like trying to understand it in any capacity when the issue comes up. It doesn't always come up, but when the issue comes up. Because then on the flip side, it's fucked up because like as an African American, you're more likely to be seen as higher and better than an African throughout most of the world, which is fucked up. I'm not a fan of that shit. I'm not a fan of that at all. Um, so it's like, yeah, it's like, the African American is dumb because they don't know where they come from and they don't have a home, and like and the African guys, like they have a home and all that stuff like that. But then on the back end, it's like then also like, well, then it's like, yeah, African Americans are lazy because they have all this opportunity, and they're not all millionaires and all that. But then on the back end, like with that, just that, like, okay, on the back end, see, these are brutal realities, and I'm not a fan of it, but this is just how it is. As an American, you can go to most any other country, and let's say there's like a dude with like a Ferrari, right? in most any other countries, right? As an American, you can go, well, I'm American, right? And you being American can pretty much match that Ferrari or go above a Ferrari, a dude who worked his ass off for a Ferrari because you come from a rich country. That's how fucked up the mentality in the world is. Maybe not a Ferrari. Let's say like a nice, like a decent Benz or something like that. Maybe not a Ferrari. That's probably taking it too far. But you get the point I'm trying to make. And see, these are parts that Americans don't know about the world. Whereas like the world knows it and they like reflect their views on America with these things, right? On how they judge each other based off of countries and these kind of things. Africans that come to America identify with white people. If they didn't, they would have never left Africa and built in their own homeland. Well, here's the thing. Okay, like here's the sad part from my experiences. I'm not saying I'm right, but from my experiences, it's just that thing. It's like the word black in the world is now associated with African American black, right? So the weird part is like, let's say like let's say an African dude comes to America, right? And let's say let's say like a dude like my brother who's like a regular black dude, right? And then an African is there. Which one is acting more black? The African or the African American? Because of media, the African American is now actually acting black, right? And that's fucked up. But that's what what media does to be. The African is not even acting black now. The Jamaican dude is not acting black now. The whatever, the Nigerian is not acting black. He's just something hovering in the in the middle. Because he's actually physically black, and so there has to be something that that kind of thing, right? And it's this sad thing because it's like I said, like it's like this perspective. Like, oh, if I just work hard, yeah, if I just work hard, and like African Americans already know, but we already know. Same experience as well, AD. Got the same line of questioning by some Nigerian parents who refused to accept I wasn't African or wasn't claiming Africa as my homeland. Yeah, yeah, and see that's the thing. Like in the world, like people get like Americans get patriotic about America while they're in America, but like outside of North America, like Americans aren't patriotic like that. We really don't even care. But like most other countries, they get like super serious about it. They can get super. I remember I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and there was this older couple that came in, and they sat at a table next to us, and they said they was from New Zealand, right? And I said, "Oh, y'all from Australia?" And the woman got mad because I didn't know, you know. I didn't know how far New Zealand even was from Australia. I thought it was like, like 2 miles off the shore or something. It's like fucking far. But she got mad at me and she said like it would be like me saying like a Canadian is American and all that, which really wasn't because Canada is like literally like you could literally walk to Canada. But I mean, but she got mad because they get really like see these are things that Americans aren't exposed to in the world, like just all these little like petty as Americans we would call petty, like they're serious about this shit. Like you call their country poor or anything like that, like or they get like serious, they get offended. It can be offensive. Like no American would be offended if like no American. I mean, we might think it's funny, but nobody would get offended if nobody knew where California was or something like. See, and that's another like people in the rest, like especially Europeans, like they make fun of Americans because they don't know where like Czech Republic is on a map, but that same European could not show me where South Dakota is on a map. And there's nothing wrong with they can't look at an American map, but it's always it's all these little dumb games that the world plays, and it's really just out of complete ignorance. AD speaking facts, illegals waving Mexican flags in the U.S. but doesn't want to be deported back to Mexico. If you love it so much, you should go back. And see, now this is something. Now I'm one of these. Okay, I'm a realist, right? Like I said, like, and then I'm sure I'm ignorant with the Russia Ukraine thing on little deeper little intricate areas. But my thing is this: I'm like, look, like, yo, like, it, as an American, if a country wanted to come and make a deal or take over the country or something like that, the first thought I'm thinking of, see, Americans are not really like on that same. It's like the rest of the world has this really weird defense mechanism it struggles with. Most Americans would hear these things and be like, "Oh, word! Now I can go to Uzbekistan because we made an alliance with them. So now I can go to Uzbekistan and go to work. I could travel to Uzbekistan now. Like we would see that as a plus." Because we're not all defensive about America. Like I mean, it could be there's defense there, and so some people would be against it in some way. It's always going to be that population. But my first thought is, I got more options. Immediately, that's my first thought. Asia, I be telling my wife, man, like real Asians are like mean. You know what I mean? Like we like I was telling her that this morning because I showed her on Instagram because I was always telling my wife how like real Asians when you get like okay when them motherfuckers be nice, like I almost take it as offensive, like because I know maybe not every Asian household, but like if an Asian is nice to you, that is like the first line. That's like the immediate red flag that they're okay. You're trying to manipulate something. You mean because these motherfuckers are not nice, like in that formal white way of being nice, right? And I was trying to tell my girl that I was telling my spouses for a long time, like they do that shit for white people. Like they not like that in their own families. These motherfuckers are brutally honest. So I came across this reel where it was this Chinese girl and her mama was sitting at the table and they were speaking Chinese and English to each other, like mixing it. And the mama was telling the daughter right there, she's like, yeah, you were always an ugly girl. Like, I always called you ugly. You was never a pretty girl. Like, to the daughter, her daughter sitting right there. Right? And her daughter laughing about it, right? If white parents, they've been, oh, I'm sad now. How can you hurt me? I'm hurt. I think I'm depressed now. I think I need some medication. The motherfuckers is wild, man. Not wild, but like it's a very no nonsense culture. Very no nonsense. Because we was talking about mafias too. Because like I mean, motherfuckers be watching too many movies about mafias and shit, man. I've never been in a mafia, but it's basic. Here's the thing. Because we was walking my son to school. I'm gonna let y'all go off of this. We was walking my son to school, and we was talking about the mafia because supposedly a friend of mine here's family was in the mafia. Now, whether they were or weren't, that's none of my business. I wouldn't be surprised if they were, because they generally kind of okay, mafia is nothing but a code name for covert united Negroes. That's all it is. It's united. It's a united form of Negroes. That's it. Meaning, if you are genuinely a decent person and can look at reality, you will never have a problem with a legit mafia. In fact, you probably be great friends with them. You probably love them if you're a genuinely decent person. Now, if you're like most Europeans are just so casually rude that they're gonna have problems, right? Like just with like little things like walking too close to people, bumping into people when they're walking, cutting them off when they're walking. Like Europeans are just naturally rude people, like at the core. So they'll have a lot of problems with mafias. But if you're just like a genuinely decent person who has like awareness for other people and you're just polite, You'll fuck around and love these motherfuckers. You'll never have a problem. Like I said, the family who I knew, they had a bar. And the bar was like literally, I showed you guys on YouTube months ago, probably a year ago now. Their bar was like maybe 10-second walk from my flat. And they on that bar. And this is when they just made it illegal to smoke inside. And I remember they would, like, I used to go in there every day and hang out with them. And because his mom owned the bar and his dad was a police officer in Prague. And his dad, like his dad looked so young. I thought he was younger than me, and he's like 5 years older than I am. He's a white dude. He just looks great for us. He's one of them white dudes who aged great, right? And he's tall dude. It's real cool. And yeah, and I remember they would lock the doors. They would close doors, lock the doors, and they just be in there smoking, and we'd be in there just playing darts for free, drinking whatever we wanted to drink, eating, and we was just family. It was family. I never had a problem. I remember for Christmas, I was invited to come down there for Christmas. They closed the bar. Everybody brought some food because I remember because his dad made the best steak tartare, that raw hamburger that you spread. He made great tartare, and he just brought a big plate. We all just brought food, and like all the friends that we all knew that would come to the bar, everybody just came in there, and we all just hung out Christmas and New Year's, and that's what we did. You would never have a problem. We never had a problem. And last time I took my spouse up there and she met him. And they did the same thing. They locked the door. And we all sitting there just drinking. Because since she could speak Czech, I could understand more what they were saying. Because now I could speak a little bit of Czech. And it was just like I never left. Just like I never left. It was like I left like the week earlier. You would never have a problem. See, the only time you're going to have a problem with these people is if you do something fucked up. Now you're going to have problems. So if you do something where you're not paying attention to what's going on and shit or taking it upon yourself. I remember one night, like this was before I even knew him that well. I was hanging out with her son. So like his mama is like, I'll be 40. His mom's got to be about 46, something like that. And but she didn't speak much English, but her son is about 10 years younger than me, I think. Something like that. About 10 years younger than me. So, but he could speak English. So I hung out with her son more than her. And it was me, him, and he was just starting to date this one girl named Kate. And I didn't like Kate because I thought Kate was a hussy. But she was she was cool, but I thought she was a hussy. Because I remember I showed her my passport. She just like grabbed it and like hugged it and all that. Seriously, not even playing. And we was just hanging out that night. And I just went behind the bar, I just started cleaning the dishes for him. Like he went somewhere and it was dishes back there. And I just went back there and I just started cleaning them because I just seen them. We was just chilling. It was me, him, and her, and we was just chilling. You know, if you got that sense of being decent, like you would never have a problem. You don't even think about having a problem. But yeah, it's the people who did something stupid. Because my wife, she was telling me a story how when she was in Italy and like the mafia, these guys, they just got out of a car and just went and just beat this dude up. I tell her, and I had to tell like no, like that was a targeted situation. Like they knew who they was going after. That dude did something. Like if you walking around doing shitty shit in life, yeah, like you got that coming to you. But if you walk around being a genuinely decent dude, you ain't got to walk around like that. You know what I mean? Or I get there's some bad situations like that situation where I fucked that dude's mom and then took his girlfriend from him on accident. That's just a rough situation, right? I couldn't have predicted that. But if you're in like that's a rare occasion in my life. Being Asian, JM, I can see that for sure. Being an Asian male sucks. Asian women grow up and get away. Oh yeah, because that's what the girl said too, JM, about Asian girls. She was like, "There's a rumor that Asian women love white men," and she goes, "No." She said that for the most part, that's not entirely true. She said Asian women go to white men because white men are easy to manipulate. That's exactly what she said. Because she said, because in black families, they'll tell you, they'll be more direct, like the Asian family, so they can't get away with a lot of bullshit. But with the white family, they can get away with a lot more with them, which is fucked up. But yeah, like Asian men, like growing up, man, like either like an Asian dude was just like a rare ladies man, which it wasn't common, but it did happen. But otherwise, they would almost be like demoted to be like subservient, like immediately. Like they'd like just never be taken as masculine at all. And I thought that was fucked up. Because when I was a little kid, at least the Asians had Bruce Lee as like their kind of like Tyrone. You know what I mean? Like something to look up to and kind of fear sometimes, kind of thing. But after that Bruce Lee phase kind of died out and all that kung fu, like what's that motherfucker Jet Li? Like he kind of came, like he could have picked up the mantle, but he was just a little too feminine. You know what I mean? He was just a little too soft, and it kind of lost that immediate fear when you see an Asian dude because he must know kung fu kind of thing. Like Jet Li kind of like and Jackie Chan just kind of like goofied it all up to where like it was never taken serious. Like, even when Jackie Chan came back, was some really good movies being serious actually. He was just a little too goofy, and it just like destroyed like the Asian default perception, if I remember correctly, if I got my timeline right. Because then he did the movie with Chris. He did Rush Hour, and that movie just blew up. But he was, even then, he was just kind of demoted as just like Chris Tucker was just like the goofy black dude with a little bit of swagger. But he was just a goofy. He was just Chris Tucker in Rush Hour, just a goofy black dude with a little bit of swagger. And Jackie Chan weirdly kind of played like his cuck handler, protector kind of thing. Like it was a really weird combination. You know what I mean? Like it just I think Jackie Chan kind of ended up hurting Asian men's accident. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose because there was no way he could have known the movie would blow up the way it did. But I think Jackie Chan really kind of hurt Asian men's perception in the world for sure. I thought all Asians were kung fu experts. The bootleg kung fu movies where the voice didn't match, the lip movements was peak kung fu. What's up, Jen? I was here to talk about Asian men. But no, I do think, yeah, because Bruce Lee was about, when I was a little kid, Bruce Lee put that fear into us. Like if somebody was Asian, the motherfuckers knew kung fu. You know what I mean? And then after that, like Jackie Chan just kind of made it like more comedy, and then Jet Li was just not very, he just wasn't a very masculine man, at least in the movies that I seen. He wasn't like, a tank or anything like that. Like, and I think it just really destroyed like the perception of the Asian man, especially in the West. I think I did know a few Asian guys who were like alpha type dudes and they would just pass through bitches. Like they would always get a new one. But it wasn't common. It wasn't very common. In all honesty. Hello from Hawaii. What's up, man? What's up, Jen? What's up? Simon Lewis says, I remember being a kid and thinking every Asian person knew kung fu because all the kung fu movies I watched with my dad as a kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That media is fucking crazy, man. Media is crazy. What it can do, how it can influence you, man. It is really crazy. Gents, what's he would say, Gents? It's not that hard to break out of Asian soy boy mode. Going to carnivore diet. Word up. Have you ever watched sci-fi film called Blade Runner? Yeah, I need to rewatch it because when I watched it, I really wasn't like in the right frame of mind. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind. So I'm sure a lot of it, like I just wasn't really absorbed. Honestly, I need to rewatch it. I watched a new one with that De Armas girl. I watched a new one with her. But I need to watch I need to rewatch the first one for sure. You watch? Oh, you recently watched it? Yeah, word up. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, man. Hmm. I was thinking about something. I forgot what I was thinking about. Thanks, Cosmic Variant. Leave a like at the door. But yeah, man, I was a kid. All there was, it was just like it was just kung fu movies. That's all. Like, and I was watching Bruce Lee interviews. It's crazy that dude was only 24, man. I was watching Bruce Lee interviews, and one of them he was going in about how he was it got to he was getting tired of doing Western movies because like they had pretty much turned him into their little Pokemon, where they were just using him for violent movies, and he was tired of making violent movies for the sake of just doing making violent movies because he said he was tired, like he was tired of just violence just for the sake of violence. Like they had literally turned him into like their personal Pokemon at this point. But it's crazy that he was like 24 and how he was like how he carried himself. Yeah. Hey, do you ever think race relations will go back to what they were before Obama was elected? Seems like that was the fulcrum of where we are today. Uh, no, no, because the reason why I say no is because that when Obama became president, that was essentially where the movie the first 300 left off. Remember when he threw that was it Leonidas? He threw that fucking spear and it like and he intentionally threw it to scratch the dude, the Persian. I can't remember the guy's name, but the Persian dude, and he threw it intentionally so he didn't kill him, but it scratched him, right? That way it would make other people hungrier to become better and things like how the Joker said in Batman, like you change things forever now. Like it's never gonna go back to what it was before. Like there's blood in the water and the sharks are gonna come now, right? When Barack Obama became president or even made it that far, um, that scared the shit out of a decent percentage of the white American population. Because up until then, like every president was just white. And it was just norm. It was normal. It was normal. And it's literally this is strictly a psychological fact. People are gonna be would much rather go back to what they know instead of go off to the unknown. In this case, with America's history, they would much rather any white man win over anything else because it's what they already. Now I'm not saying all the white population, but there's going to be a decent amount of the population who would destroy them, and it's never going to go back because now that is since it's been done one time, now it's clear it can be done again, and that fear is building up. Xerxes, that's it. Yeah, Xerxes. What's up? See, pooping while standing. That's amazing. How's Prague? How's Prague at this time to visit? Might come over. Oh, it's just starting to get cold, but it's just starting to get cooler. It's not cold. I say it's a good time to come. If you want to come, like I'd say in the next month. AD, but without white liberal vote, Obama would not have. That's true. That's true. That is 100% true. Because just the sheer numbers on population. That's true. Yeah. And like I said, I've always said this. If there's any way I could prove it, I'd be happy to prove it. I didn't vote for Obama. I didn't vote because I knew because I was at least intelligent enough to know that the only reason I would vote for Obama was because he was black, and that would make me no better than vote for, a white guy because he's white. So I did not vote both times Obama ran. And if there's any way I could prove it, I'd happily prove it if they got a way to, like, pull records, or if you can type your social security number in to see if you voted those years. I'd love to do it to prove it, but I didn't vote for him both times, and that was I intentionally did not vote because of that reason. It would make me no better than a racist white dude vote, because it would just be strictly off of his skin color. Because I didn't know anything he was talking about. It was gonna be literally just a completely ignorant vote. So that's why I didn't vote for him. It would be, I mean, like, the only reason why I would even say I was happy that he would win is strictly just it would not be out of merit for his actual job. I would be happy that he won simply because it would tell other brown kids that it's not essentially locked off from you. But in terms of actual merit for his job, I had no idea what he was doing. you know, I just knew a black dude was running, or a brown guy. I don't know if you would even call him completely black. You could look up state voter roles and political affiliations, but not who that person voted for. Oh, okay. I didn't vote for Obama either. I almost got crucified. Because, yeah, like, the only reason I was like 20 at the time, man. The only reason I wasn't paying attention to that shit. Um, I was 20. I remember when I came home from work and seen that he won. But yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea what he was talking about. All I seen was a brown dude up there, and I thought to myself, "Wow, a black dude actually made it that far." And I hope they don't kill him. You know what I mean? I remember thinking that. But like I said, in terms of actual merit for his job, it would have been a completely racist vote, a race driven reason. It literally only would have been a racial driven reason for me to vote for him, and I just couldn't do that. Ron Paul. I'm thinking of one dude who was smoking weed. I thought his name was like Rob Johnson or something like that. He didn't get many votes, but he got a little news coverage because he was smoking weed, like, I think, like, on a live broadcast or something. But he was never gonna win. When it comes to interactions with people in Prague, does it sometimes feel like your interactions with an NPC in a video game? Also, what odd biases do you come across simply for being black? Okay, so interacting with people. Now, I do hear a lot that Americans overshare, and we talk like, and I've heard that a lot from just Europeans in general, not just Czech people, that Americans overshare when we talk. And so interacting with people, it depends on the setting. It depends on, like, okay, for example, like, you don't really cold approach women out here. Their culture is not made for that. Their culture is still made for these, like, small. They really need, like, Czech people do the best when they're in villages. Um, their culture is like, okay, you don't talk to people unless you're, like, in a place designated for talking. Like, you rarely just, like, completely start talking to somebody on the street for whatever reason. Like, this is that rigid, cold communist shit that they just never ever grew past for reasons that don't make any sense at all, to be honest. Um, Maybe not necessarily an NPC, but just like, probably because I'm okay. Maybe when I first came here, I would have said NPC, but now that I know where it comes from, I wouldn't call it NPC. Um, Now I would just call it, it's that social awkwardness. Also, what odd biases do you come across for simply for being black? Well, like I said earlier, just either being seen as, like, there is, either being seen as this either potentially exotic Pokemon they can keep, or being seen as like a poor African who needed to come to Europe to better his life. That whole stereotype that they've created. Um, and like I said, when it comes out that I'm actually American, and like Europe is actually a step down for us, then things can get a bit unpredictable, depending on how it comes out. Yeah, I voted for Democrat for graduated high school. Became aware of the hypocrisy. Yeah, and left indoctrination when it comes to interactions with people. Oh, you just okay. You asked me. Yeah, okay. I have no idea about gold and silver. That's cool though. Thanks for sharing that. Cosmic Vagrant. But yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go because it's 10. It's 10:08. So I'm gonna let y'all go, man. Thanks for tuning. I'm glad I was able to like try again. I'm gonna read his last one. Kevin says, "How would you recommend black men carry themselves around Czech women? Be cool, black guy doesn't care." Uh, I mean, okay. It really doesn't matter. I was watching this reel of a black dude in Japan, and he was completely honest about it. He was real about it. Um, he said like if you're a corny black dude in America, it doesn't matter when you leave the U.S. because they don't see those little social cues that make you, you know, they don't see those little social cues. So like if you're a corny dude in North America, you gotta like that's only like proprietary to like the people who know that corniness, or because he wasn't like a cool guy, or he was just like a regular black dude. You mean he was just a regular normal black dude. But he was but like here's the thing, like in America, being just a regular normal black dude, you can be called corny, depending on where you are. Especially if you're like around guys who are borderline from the hood and all that shit, they'll call you corny. Like I'll be corny to me. I think I'm a little too like firm to be corny. I think they would just classify me as weird now because I'm not a kid anymore. Um, and I'm a little too like mentally and verbally strong in speaking and how I'm walking and talking. I don't. I think I've graduated from corny now. I would just be more weird or something like that. But yeah. How what was it? How would you recommend a black? It really doesn't matter, Kevin, because they don't know the American. Okay, they what's like uh generally cool or anything like that in America. Like they don't know their whole, and this is the reality of being over here is like most of their knowledge is coming from Netflix. So like they don't really have a proper idea of anything in actual North America. They think they do because Netflix is in English. So they think they assume it because they could get on YouTube and watch, the same accent of English speaker from America. Hi, now we're playing Mario, and this year Mario's gonna have DLC, and I said, that same. So they're getting YouTube, Netflix, Instagram garbage and thinking that they know America, but they really don't. They have no understanding of actual America. So with you being a black, it really doesn't matter how you carry. Just don't be. I mean, there are basic things. Just don't be obnoxious or anything like that. But they don't know um, these things. Like for example, I was telling one of my Czech, the female friend of mine, because she loves black dudes, and because her daughter is half black, and I told her like I like um well I had a friend here from the U.S., but he speaks like a white guy, right? And I imitated it to her, and she doesn't see it, she doesn't know, that so in America, if a black dude talks white, like we all know what he means, like he's like Carlton Banks, like you know, why hi there, do you guys have some sugar? Like Martin from Bad Boys. Like in America we know what that is, but like if you were to say like a black guy is talking white to like, you know, any Czech person I know, like they don't know, they don't, how, they don't have that that social cue constantly hit them in the face, like, oh, this dude isn't really like, black. See, being black is an American thing, and this is the weird part with the Africans too. So it's like the being black thing, like they'll even adopt the being black thing in America. Like some of them will go into actually adopting the whole being black in America thing, which is super weird. Being black is complicated. Like I told my wife, I out of all the countries I've been to, I felt the most comfortable in Ukraine. Um, Out of everywhere I've been, out of everywhere I've been, I felt by far the most comfortable in Ukraine. Um, no, well, let me say Ireland was cool, mostly just because of the English, and it just reminded me of America. But in terms of like people, Ukraine, Ukraine was where I felt the most comfortable. Well, I was in Kiev, so it probably doesn't really count. But Ukraine was where I felt the most like that was the only place I've been to where I truly felt like I can just relax. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like in Czech Republic, I feel like I'm in America in the sense of like who's going to stare at me today, or who's going to like stare at me when they think I don't know they're staring at me, or who's going to stare at me and when I look at them they're going to act like they weren't staring and look away. Who's gonna, like in Czech Republic, it's an everyday thing. I feel like I'm back in North America in that regard. Like every morning, it's a constant, thing. Now Ukraine, I didn't feel that one time. Ukraine, like you can talk to people if they can speak English. That's the only problem. But if they can speak English, they'll talk to you. I never felt this coldness out of them. Um, it was pretty easy to make friends there. Um, it wasn't this silly Czech thing of like, this social awkwardness. You say hi, kind of thing. Like, it was the like Ukraine was the now I wouldn't recommend Ukraine for most people because the women there are out of your league for most people who aren't ready for that already. Um, because the the scams and shit out there are like I was already like kind of brought into that from living in Czech Republic for so long, so I could recognize it. So by the time I made the Ukraine, I had already been riding on training wheels before I went to Ukraine, right? So like it was much easier once I learned the Russian alphabet. It didn't take me anywhere near as long to like start making sense of street signs and all that because a lot of it, not a lot, but a decent amount of it was just that it's the Slavic language family. But I had to learn the alphabet first. Until you learn the alphabet, it's just gibberish. It's just like they just made this shit up and put it on a sign. It took about a week. It didn't take long to learn the Russian alphabet. I found a because that how I met that girl. I seen her in a Facebook group and I just wrote her, and she wrote me back, and that's how she became my Russian teacher. And she taught me Russian. She gave me sentences to write down when I went home. I practiced them maybe an hour a day, and it took maybe 5 days, maybe before I was fine. I didn't have like I mean I still don't know a lot, but like since I already had the previous Slavic language knowledge of Czech and then learn that, like I could piece it together much easier. Like Oxe is the same thing. Cena, Oxe is like their way of saying something's on sale. I can't remember the other ones. I think like building, or I think they write, was it building, or I can't remember what it was, but it's just in their alphabet. But they just spell it literally says building, but it's just spelled in their alphabet. But you got to sound it out. I think it was build. I can't remember now. But what was really weird for me in learning Russian was the fact that like thank you was spasiba. For some reason, that just freaked my brain out. So I remember the first time I heard somebody actually say spasiba after I knew what it meant. It was this girl on the phone, and it was just like for an English speaker, like spasiba, spasiba. Am I pronouncing it right? Spasiba, spasiba. It doesn't even sound like thank you in any kind of way. You know what I mean? Even for Czech is dekuyu, dekui, but spasiba is just so different. And it really freaked my brain out to hear her like if she was on the phone, she was like, spasiba, spasiba, spasiba. Like she was saying thank you. It just doesn't even sound like thank you. And halasho is good. So when you hear somebody say halasho, it's like saying good. In Czech, it's dobry. So those words are nowhere near similar. But other words are. Some words are the same words. Some words sound the same, but they have a different meaning. And other words is completely different. Hey, you once said the myth of Jesus. Does that mean you don't think that he was a real man in history, or you don't think the miracles and other things in the Bible about him are? Yeah, I don't think the miracles are true at all. I think that's bullshit. I think that is complete. I think I'm not saying he wasn't a real man. I'm sure he was a real man that was just walking around telling motherfuckers that don't do dumb shit. You know what I mean? Be nice, be nice and shit like that. But walking on water and all that old crazy shit, fuck no. Look at Batman in the last 20 years. Batman went from fucking wearing cloth and leather boots to to literally kicking over solid oak trees, and that's just a cartoon in 20 years. And I'm not making that up. He legit kicks over a solid fucking oak tree and it just snaps. And he doesn't have any like bane venom or nothing like that. He's just a regular dude who was just training, and he just got mad and went hiya, and just the whole tree just like snaps. And it's only been 20 years. Them stories went off the chain. Motherfucker walking on water. This motherfucker walking on water. I'm gonna feed everybody with a piece of bread and a fish, and all y'all motherfuckers getting ready. That sound like some scam shit. You know what I mean? That don't sound. I mean, like, I'm sure there was a dude who was just real nice. You know what I mean? But like, these stories are ridiculous. He curing blind motherfuckers and all that, feeding the whole town off of one piece of bread and all this old crazy shit. You know, I was thinking about too. I'm gonna let y'all go after this. I was telling my spouse because I was in a conversation with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will literally defend women more than gods, and I'm so serious about that. If you talk to ChatGPT like you're a man and you talk about what women do, ChatGPT will come up with every excuse to blame men for every one of women's problems. But if you talk to ChatGPT like you're a woman and say, "I'm a woman. Why is it that women only pick this kind of guy and all that?" Then it'll tell you all the red pill shit you want to know. Right? But so I got in a conversation with ChatGPT about Adam and Eve, right? And I was telling my wife about this. Yeah, Javi, I liked it too. Batman 2022. But yeah, I was talking to ChatGPT about Adam and Eve, and I thought that was very unfair. I thought the concept of Adam and Eve would be like punishing a child who gets into a rapist van. You know what I mean? Like Adam and Eve was living in a fucking garden, in the Garden of Eden. They had no other people to learn lessons off of in their past, right? They had no history books or nothing. They was just them. They don't know nothing. They don't really know where they come from. And they just kind of getting visited by angels and Satan, right? And God told him, yeah, don't eat from this tree and all that. And Eve goes out and does it, and then Adam feels sorry for her and follows her in it. And then God just like kicks him out and be like, fuck you. And y'all ain't never welcome back. And just for that, I'm gonna make you go through pain every time you give birth. Like, God damn, that escalated quickly, God. Are you serious? How was I supposed to know you was? How was I supposed to know you was gonna be that serious about it? Like that wasn't none of that in the contract, God. All you said was just don't eat from the tree. Now, if Eve had a known she'd have got kicked out the garden and had pain and childbirth, and all, she probably wouldn't have done it. Like if a motherfucker came to you and said, "Hey, bro, okay, if okay, so how old was Adam and Eve for real? You know what I mean, really think about this shit. When they was in the Garden of Eden, how old were they in real time? You know what I mean? Like these motherfuckers was like 6 months old. These were 6 month olds. You know what I mean? They were 6 month olds with no parents, okay, and no history books to learn from. So they don't even know what's real or what's not. These are 6 month olds. If I go to 6 months old, hey, bro, you can do whatever you want, but just don't eat out that garbage can, and everything's cool. All right? Okay. Okay, cool. So just don't eat that because you 6 months old. You don't know. You was literally just born 6 months ago. You can do whatever you want, but just don't go eat out that dumpster, fam. Okay? Okay. Okay, cool. And God just chilling. Just yeah. I'm gonna be okay. Boop. There's the sky. Mm. You know, being God ain't that bad, fam. What? You motherfuckers ate from that tree. Get the fuck out. Fuck you. Fuck all your ancestors. Fuck anybody you give birth to. Fuck all you bitches. Get the fuck out my garden. Like, gee, God, that was harsh. Don't you think? Think about that. That is harsh. You know what I mean? Like, why'd you even put the tree there in the first place? Here's the thing. I think what happens is this. I think that God himself can never be as smart as a human. Because continuously, technically God put the tree there to technically give him free will. I get that. Technically, God put that tree there for Adam and Eve so they would essentially have free will, right? So they can choose to do it or not, right? Now, but he didn't communicate the actual punishment. He just said, don't do it. And then went from 0 to 100, like, he went from 0 to 100 like that, like no hesitation. When he found out these motherfuckers ate from that tree, he get the fuck out. It's like, yo, like that would be like blaming a child for getting a rapist van, and then be like, yeah, and on top of that, every kid you gonna give birth to, we gonna fuck them up. They not allowed back in here either, bitch. Because you got in that rapist van. And the kid just like, yo, I'm a kid. I think that God cannot be, I don't think God is the right entity to be in charge of humans. The reason why I say that is because Satan Lucifer had to go to God and convince God that the only reason Job worships him the way he does is because God gave him, all that he had. And then God was like, what? No, that ain't why Job would be like that. Job's just cool. And Satan had to legit convince him that no, he's only that good because you're giving him all that, right? And so God went off and said, okay, I'm going to test him then, bro. And fucked him up. I don't think God is the right person to be in charge of humanity. I think he's the right person to make humanity in theory, but I don't think he's the right person to be in charge of humanity. I think he did a terrible job. I think he does a terrible job. You know what I mean? Like because okay, because in that sense of logic, like he can't be mad at us for like a kid dying of bone cancer. You know what I mean? Because like God, you chose to do it, so how come I can't be mad about that? Right? Like you chose it. I accept that God has his free will, but he could get mad at me because I got my free will. That's, that ain't right. I think God needs to go ahead and eat some humble pie and be like, yeah, I ain't too good at this. I'm gonna go ahead and just contract this job out to somebody. Like, could you imagine just sitting down somewhere and just chilling and just be waiting on a motherfucker to just like do something you don't like? You know what I mean? Because you can make everything. Like, could you just imagine just sitting somewhere and just chilling for real, just be chilling? Because you made everything and just be sitting around and just wait. Because you already made everything in theory, and you just chilling and just waiting for somebody to do something you don't like so you can fuck them up and fuck their whole family up. That's fucked up. I think that's rough. I think that's rough. I would love to hang out with God. I would love to hang out with God for real. Because I'm that dude. I'm like Kramer and the Soup Nazi. Like, I'm that motherfucker who would just say some real shit. Because my logic base is different. You know what I mean? It's my logic base. It's like, look, the way I look at it is this. If I'm still alive, then that means God is still alive. And if God is always over me as a human, which he should be, that means that he's just as stuck in this bullshit as I am. He can't leave. I can disappear, but he can never disappear. So in reality, like I will have, as humans, we will always have that one up on God. Like we can just disappear and just cease to exist. God can't. So no matter how many acts of spite he commits and gets mad at himself and will never do it again, see, as humans, our road ends. So like I just use that to my advantage and just not give a fuck. I mean, it's not that I don't want to hurt God or anything like that, but it's like I'm that friend who would tell Kanye West some shit he don't want to hear. I'm that friend who would tell Bill Gates something he doesn't want to hear, and he'll fuck around and love me for that shit later. You know what I mean? Like I'll fuck around and be his best friend because I'm that friend who can see past all the money and power and just be like, yeah, I don't like that. That's not right. God's number one blunder was man. His second was woman. Chilling with you one day would be amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna get out of here now. It's 10:30. I'm 30 minutes late. So y'all, because I got to get up in early in the morning. So y'all have a good day, evening, night. Hope you guys doing good, man. And I try to live stream more, but I got to get up early to take my son to school. So I don't know about. I'm usually asleep by now anyway. Lately, taking him to school. But yeah, I'm out of here. Peace out.